Good evening and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Lunenburg Select Board. Today is Tuesday, March 18th. I'm calling the Select Board to order. In accordance with the requirements of the Open Meeting Law, please be advised that this meeting is being recorded and broadcast live over the Lunenburg Public Access channel, on Facebook Live on the Public Access Facebook page, and will be uploaded to the Lunenburg Access YouTube channel after the meeting. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and are those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by the Open Meeting Law. I move to enter into executive session and to re-enter into open session pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 30, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation if an open meeting may have detrimental effect on the litigating position of the town and the chair of the board so declares.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Be a roll call vote. Tom?
Aye.
Renee?
Aye.
Amanda?
Aye.
Michael Ray?
Aye.
And I for myself. We are now in executive session. All right, looks like we are back on air. Just wait for town manager to mute that.
I heard that.
No, it's going to be on mute.
I think it's
There.
that one.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
All right, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to start with public comment. Are there any public comments from the board?
I have a couple. First one is, as of the caucus last week, unless someone pulled papers this past week, we do not have a quorum for our sewer commission going forward. We need one more person to be on the sewer commission in order to have a quorum. So if you're interested, go to the town clerk's office, get the nomination forms. You need 50 signatures. Otherwise, you can also just run as a write-in candidate. Second, thing I want to say is I spoke with Representative Scarsdale Friday morning about, you can guess, school funding, all of those issues. Didn't tell her anything she hasn't probably heard 1,000 times by now, but I asked her, what could we do to help her, help us? One comment she made was that she needs letters. As of Friday morning, she had received a total of 20 letters. That's 20 across all 6 of her towns, not 20 from Lunenburg. And I know, based on the emails I've received, based on the public comment I've seen at this board, school committee, social media, there are more than 20 people that are, have concerns and frustrated, and definitely have feedback regarding school funding. So, I encourage you to send a letter to our state delegation. I asked Margaret the best way to do that. She said to attach the letter to an email. The letter does not have to be long. It can just be a few lines, but she said it is more valuable to have a letter that's personalized rather than a form letter that just multiple people submit. The letter must contain your full name and your address. And I think that's all. So I know it's on our agenda tonight to discuss a letter to send to our state delegation about the school funding issue. School committee has already done so, I think a while back, and the chair of the finance committee told me that he will also bring it forward to the finance committee so they could submit a letter as well. So please, I encourage you, take a couple of minutes, just write a brief letter and mail it off. If you need help, how to attach to an email, get the email address, let me know. Anyone on this board, I'm sure, is willing to help you. School committee, if you want to handwrite a letter, I'll scan it for you and email it. But again, I just encourage you to take some action and submit a letter. Thank you.
All right, public comment from the public.
Oh, preempt public comment. Okay.
No, it was still board comments.
My name is John Bowen Jr. I am speaking tonight about Lunenburg's.
Just a reminder, you also have to say your address too at the beginning of a public comment.
My apologies. 162
That's all
Highland
right.
Street.
Good, thank you.
I recently moved here to Lunenburg with my dad, John Bowen, in January of last year because I was in a bad environment which caused me a lot of difficulties in my life, mentally, emotionally, socially, and academically. Every school I attended, which was 3 last year alone and 7 schools over 5 years, was a real challenge. I had no support from people I was living with, and I was abused, not physically but mentally, and was told my father didn't love me. I did not know that my father was in a bitter legal fight for more than 10 years. All of this was before I came to Lunenburg to live with my dad. In my previous living situation, I was told I should know what to do with my homework assignments and regular life skills. This was my whole life, and I felt trapped. Whenever I got upset because I was frustrated with understanding everything, my mother would force me into 4 hospitals between the ages of 9 and 15, all the time telling me I am the problem and I am no different than my father. which she characterized him in a negative light to me and my sister daily. However, I am speaking with you today because of my father and because of Lunenburg High School. I never thought I could do this a year ago. Why am I sharing this with you? As my father has shown me, having one voice and one vote is important, that I should always speak up. This was how I healed from my traumatic past. I am who I am today by speaking up and speaking out. I want you to know that because of people here in Lunenburg, my dad, of course, my stepmom, Jean Marie Price, and from school, Joshua Kojal, Juliana Hanscom, Lori Shea, James McSweeney, Coach Hausler, Jennifer Miller, Stacy Canfield, and Timothy Santry, and all of my other teachers and mentors and friends at Lunenburg High School, including Mr. and Mrs. Eberhardt, Mrs. Foyle, and Mrs. Millette and company, and all my friends at Float Club and the entire class of 2027 for voting for me to ride the float with Kendra Eberhardt at homecoming. This was a great honor. There are so many others I want to name, just not enough time. All of these people have helped this person, me, who stands before you today, who has had an IEP his whole life, and today I do not have any special needs requirements because of a good plan that Lunenburg High School formulated for me working with my father. Since coming to Lunenburg High, my first semester here I made honors, my second semester here I made high honors, and this past semester here I made special honors, and it appears I am keeping the ship steady. This is because of the program that Lunenburg High School has for kids with special needs, including kids like me who come from difficult homes or abusive homes. I have excelled because of the special needs assistance and the professionalism of how Lunenburg High School worked with my father and with me. They helped me make my life better academically and socially. I have failed every grade since 7th grade, and I was just passed along by other schools before that as well. I thought no one cared. However, not today. Today I have a direction. I am planning on law school and then the Marine Corps. I also intend to run for president of the class of 2027 at Lunenburg High School, and I will be looking for signatures. What I am really here today to say to you is you have difficult decisions to make about the schools, but the one thing you should support 100% is the special needs services needed for all kids in Lunenburg schools. I play sports and I love sports, but if you cut that, I'm okay with it happening, or if you have to charge fees for us to have sports, I am okay with that too. As well as any other extra after-school activity offered by the school, I am okay with that being cut or charged the fee. In closing, I just want to be heard that cutting any program or assistance for people with educational and social difficulties, maybe some with my situation, that of an abusive home life with no support. As a survivor myself, I know there are many out there and you cannot have them slip through the cracks. There are a lot of us, I am not the only one. I ask that if you cut anything from the schools, you do not cut special needs education or the professionals attached to this education from Lunenburg schools. This is like removing life support from a patient who can live with some sort of rehabilitation assistance, just not in the moment. Thank you for your time.
John Bowen Jr., right?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for coming in and sharing your story. I'm so happy to hear that things are working out for you here in Lunenburg, where they weren't previously. It speaks so much to the staff that we have in our schools and to the services that we provide and how good the quality of our education is here in town. So thank you for sharing your story. I'm so happy to hear that it's working.
Of course, Mr. Solo. Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Chair,
course.
also, John, as you know, I've talked to your dad quite a bit. We've had dinner together with your stepmom and your father, and as you saw, I was getting a little emotional as I was hearing this, because, it takes a lot to get to the point that you're at. And I want to acknowledge your dad. I want to acknowledge Jean Marie. I'm sure you see the difference too. I know you and I have talked, a little bit here, and keep it up.
Thank you, Mr. Jeffries.
Thank you. Any other public comments from the public? Mr. Lakaditis.
Good evening, everybody. Christos Lakaditis, 49 Maple Parkway, speaking on behalf of the Lunenburg Professional Firefighters. So I've spent a lot of time over the past week going back and forth on how I wanted to address not only this board, but the citizens of Lunenburg as well. The fact of the matter is that this town needs another override. However, the town consists of the DPW, schools, fire, police, and all the other departments that make this town function day in and day out. An override that addresses anything less than the needs of the whole town would be a disservice to the town, both its staff and its residents. The town has needs, and continuing to kick the can down the road is a major reason why the town is in the mess it's in today. Now, I've stood before this board and made you all aware of the situation that the fire department is currently in, and the chief has made the necessary requests to address the immediate needs of the department. However, given the financial situation facing the town, these needs are understandably unfunded. Given the current tax base of the town and the needs of other departments, it's my opinion that the 3 requested firefighter positions will never be funded without an override. I've worked in this town long enough to see the writing on the wall. So I ask you this question tonight, not to cause panic, but to really get you thinking. What do you expect when you call 911? What is an acceptable amount of time for the ambulance to show up when you're having a heart attack or a stroke? What is an acceptable amount of time for the engine to show up when your house is on fire? Staffing matters. It is a fact. There are houses on West Street, Stone Fence Road, Fairview Road, Whalum Road, and several others that were saved because the station was staffed. There are countless residents still alive because of the early advanced pre-hospital care provided by our paramedic service that may not have had the same outcome had the paramedic service been delayed responding from another community. Approximately 10 years ago, a resident of this town went into cardiac arrest in this very room. The reason that person is still alive today is only because our members were at the station for training. Had that event occurred any other night of the week, the station would have been empty and the outcome would have been severely different, and that is directly from the ER doctor. Even after this incident, it was 2 to 3 years before the fire department saw any increase in staff, continuing to kick the can down the road. So as I stated before, the town needs an override, and if it takes until next year to develop a comprehensive one, then so be it. But it needs to address the whole town. Thank you.
Thank you, Christos. Any other public comments from the public? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to announcements. Don't have any. Renee captured my announcements today. Do you have any announcements you'd like to make?
I do not.
Okay. Communications from other boards, not seeing any. Scheduled meetings and hearings. Up first, we have a special event license application for the Turkey Hill Lions Club for the use of Memorial Drive in TC Passios Yard, located at 1025 Mass Ave, on May 21st, 2025, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. for a car show. And this is a public hearing, so I will ask the clerk to read the public hearing notice.
The Lunenburg Select Board will hold a public hearing on March 18th, 2025 at 7:05 p.m. in Town Hall, 17 Main Street, 2nd floor, Lunenburg, Massachusetts, on the application submitted by the Turkey Hill Family Lions Club for a special event license for use of Memorial Drive in TC Passios Yard, located at 1025 Massachusetts Avenue on May 21st, 2025, from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. for a car show.
All right, thank you. Want to tell the community about the car show?
Well, we had the car show several years ago and brought it back last year. It was very successful as we moved it down in front of the TC Passios Elementary School, so there was more room for cars, more room for, for people to mill around. We're doing it in conjunction with the, the club, the former teen center, and with the PTO. So we're excited to bring it back again this year, and I've talked with the fire chief, I've talked with DPW, and I've also spoken with the police chief, and they are all in favor, and they didn't have any concerns as it went so well last year.
Great, thank you. Any questions
You're
from the board?
Any changes from last year?
No.
I think it was great. It was a wonderful event. So,
Hopefully just more folks coming out.
sounds
Just
perfect.
to the town manager, has everything been submitted that we need?
Yep.
All that stuff. Are you having raffles? Do you know? Because if so, just a reminder that there's another permit to be submitted for that.
The raffles will probably be done by the PTO, and they're aware of that, so.
Awesome. Otherwise, same thing. Looking forward to it. Logan loves it.
Wonderful.
Renee?
Is there a rain date? Do you need a rain date? I don't,
We don't have a rain date. There won't be a rain date.
Okay.
Because the Lunenburg Business Association has something
okay, so rain.
coming
or
up as
shine.
well, so.
I just want to make sure, because I didn't see one on here. Okay.
Weather was beautiful last year.
It certainly
Well,
was.
now you just jinxed it.
No, it's going to
I
be
know.
beautiful.
Hopefully not. Michael Ray, you have any questions? All right, I don't have any questions either. It sounds like from the town manager, everything is looking good. So is there a motion to approve the special event license application as requested?
So moved.
I think we need to move to close the public hearing.
Oh, sure.
That's
yeah.
true.
Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Also so moved.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The public hearing is now closed.
So I would move that we approve the special event license application for the Turkey Hill Lions Club for the use of Memorial Drive and TC Passios Yard located at 1025 Massachusetts Avenue on May 21st, 2025, from 4 to 7 p.m. for their car show / cruise night.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. And one more thing. We have the toll booth application for the Turkey Hill Lions Club for April 26th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. in the town center as well, right?
Yes,
You do this every year.
yes. It's only 8 to 12. We used to do 8 to 2, but now it's just 8 to 12.
Okay. And everything looks good for this one, too? Any questions from the board?
I'll just ask again, rain or shine?
There is a rain date, but I have it written down over there.
Is it on the I don't,
Date of event, April 26th.
I think it's the following Saturday.
it's a
I
Saturday?
don't see it on here.
Following Saturday would be town meeting.
Would really do well that day.
Yeah, if there is one.
I can check and get back to you.
So, okay. All right, any other questions? All right, do we still want to approve it even if there isn't a rain date on it? Is that okay?
In my opinion, can we approve it and then allow them to submit a rain date within
Sure. we
2
can-
weeks?
Yeah.
We can amend it, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, we have plenty of time, so.
yeah.
All right, great.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yeah, is there a motion?
I move to approve the toll booth application for the Turkey Hill Lions Club for April 26, 2025, from 8 to 12 p.m., and allow them to submit a rain date within 2 weeks of said date.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously.
Wonderful, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa. Have a good night.
Thanks,
Good seeing you.
Thank you.
All right, up next, we have a presentation by John Bowen on a cemetery corporation for the town of Lunenburg and a citizen's petition town meeting warrant article that he has submitted, got enough signatures for, and will be in the warrant.
Which one are we going to start with?
Let's start with the warrant article.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I talked to Caesar already about that.
Okay.
Why don't we do the warrant article first? And then that way there, because the other one will encompass the warrant article and the reasoning behind it. All right, I'd like to start. My name's John Bowen, 162 Highland Street. I like to start, like I do every so often, just showing an example. So this is my study of your cemetery commission over the last 5 years. There's emails here, there's pictures, conversations, communications, things from the DPW and so on and so forth with regard to costs, monies, minutes. Okay, so I just want everybody to understand that, this isn't something that was just put together willy-nilly. This is something that I've discussed over the last 2.5 years or so, and that I have been interested to present. However, your cemetery commission has refused to hear it. So I'm here today to present a warrant article. In addition to that, a petition for cemetery corporation as, a reason why we need to issue a warrant article and we need to move into a cemetery corporation here, a mutual benefit cemetery here in town. And it's mostly financial, but just so that you're aware that this has been well studied. These are my notes and other things. So that being said, if you can put the first slide up. Do you have it? Yeah, because I'm a little slow here. This thing's going to take me a minute, so I'll just look this way. Just as a highlight, so this is a cemetery warrant article that I wish to present as a citizen, town of Lunenburg. The reason behind me wanting to do this is I have a father-in-law in my wife's family who, are very conservation specific about things. They also believe in fiscal discipline. In history, as well as our family believes in the fiscal discipline as well. And because we abut the cemeteries, is not the sole reason why we wish this to pull through. It's because for the last 4 years, our Cemetery Commission has done absolutely nothing. The purpose of this warrant article is to give the inhabitants of Lunenburg a direct oversight, including providing a clear understanding of powers and duties of persons within authority over our cemeteries, including fiscal discipline, cemetery management, present and future development and maintenance of our cemeteries, but specifically for the stated purpose of creating transparency, protecting from waste, fraud, and abuse, patronage, and inurements within a division of our government which is not financially stable on its own. Next slide, please. So it begins, like anything else, with a plan. Every plan begins with a goal. What are the goals of our cemeteries? Well, that question's pretty easy for us to answer today. There isn't one presented. This is a plan. It's a sad day when an entire town department has any key performance indicators of their own to show its benefits, its direction, or its efficiency. And in that, a plan is only as good as the foundation it sits on, and right now, it's sitting on sand. And when the rain comes, I'm sure it will wash it away. Next slide, please. So, Mass General Laws, Chapter 114, Section 23. The first thing about our plan is to define what is responsibility. So I highlighted a number of words here. We have a board who has sole care, superintendence, and management. However, that comes, subject to the approval of the town, may make regulations consistent with law. That's approval of the town. That means my approval. That means your approval. That means town meeting approval. So let's continue. The person who's in charge of the day-to-day maintenance and care is not the Cemetery Commission. It is the supervision of the town manager who has delegated that to the Department of Public Works, Bill Bernard, through his superintendent, Todd Holman, who is the cemetery superintendent in town. The cemetery department is a division of the DPW, which means that the Cemetery Commission itself is just that, a division. Continue, please. So, in our warrant article, we're asking this, that we adopt the following definitions to govern the powers and duties of the Lunenburg Cemetery Commission's powers and duties as enshrined in charter of the town of Lunenburg and in the Cemetery Commission's rules and regulations. So the definitions are, now these were taken from Black's Law Dictionary. If you don't know what Black's Law Dictionary, we can ask Adam Coster, but it basically is what the principally accepted rule is in writing legislation and how these words are applied. Sole, as in separate, not as in individual, as in separated. Care, as in duty of care, a legal responsibility of an organization to avoid any behaviors or omission that could reasonably be foreseen to cause harm to others. Superintendence, as in the function of watching, guarding, or overseeing. Management, as in to direct the transaction of government. And town, as in body politics, the inhabitants of a town as it states in statute and the rules and regulations of the Cemetery Commission, wherein it states in part, which quotes from the law, and subject to the approval of the town may make such regulations consistent with law, as it deems expedient. Next slide, please. In that, I'm going to read the entire one. Oh, go right back there to the next page. You are okay.
Oh.
Yep, that's okay. Go back one. Yep, there we go. I'm going to read this, again. Said board shall have the sole care, superintendence, and management of all public burial grounds in this town, may lay out any existing public burial grounds in its town, or any land purchased and set apart by said town for such cemeteries, in lots or other suitable subdivisions. Notice all the punctuation and pay attention, because law is written by punctuation. With proper paths and avenues, may plant, embellish, ornament, and fence the same, and erect therein such suitable edifices and conveniences, and make such improvements as it considers convenient, and subject to the approval of the town, may make such regulations consistent with law as it deems expedient. Section 35B, the Cemetery Commission, as highlighted in the charter, says the day-to-day care and maintenance of the cemetery shall be under the supervision of the town manager. Next slide, please. That's just to clarify, so that you hear what it sounds like as it's spoken. So law is written as it's spoken. Law is not written as it is written. When we read it, it's not how we listen to it. We listen to how it's spoken. So, no, you got to go forward. There we go. Number 2, and direct the Cemetery Commission to act as an oversight elected body for which it has been directed by statute. I just gave you the definitions. Enshrined in Mass General Laws 114, Section 23, and as pursuant to the Charter of the Town of Lunenburg, okay, which is enshrined the supreme power and duties as supervisor of the cemetery's day-to-day care and maintenance authority to the town manager, Section 35B, Cemetery Commission, titled. Please, next slide. Next slide. Also, number 3, to direct the town manager pursuant to her charter authority over all town property, Article 4, Section 4-1, and excuse me, I'm going to have to make a correction there. I believe that's 4-2. I had a fat finger, I think. Section I, in her granted authority, which she has pursuant to Article 5, Section 5-1A, to conjoin or merge the power and duties governing the supervisory authority of the cemetery property. These are multiple parcels of land owned by the town of Lunenburg. By changing the wording of the power and duties granted to the town manager and to the Department of Public Works, which the charter highlights the Department of Public Works as being supervisory over all town lands, the words which will clearly reference with the word property or land, okay, as written by adding the words including all cemetery lands, which is under the authority of the town manager and the Department of Public Works, as I said, who share a supervisory duty of lands or property in the town of Lunenburg, excepting the school department and the Conservation Commission. I just omitted the second part there for Conservation Commission. Next slide, please. Section 4.2 of the powers and duties. The town manager shall be the chief financial officer of all town agencies. The town manager shall be the chief administrative officer of this town, directly responsible to the select board for the administration of all town affairs, for which the office of town manager is given responsibility by or under this charter. The powers and duties of the town manager shall include, but are not intended to be limited to, the following, and you have a very big list. Please go to the next slide. We're not going to read the whole list. To have full jurisdiction over the rental and use of all, this is key, use of all property. These cemeteries are plots that's being used. That is a use, okay? People buy plots to put bodies, okay? That's a use. Except property under the control of school committee. Article 4, Section 42A. Next slide, please. Section 5, organization of town agency. This comes to the merging. Okay? The town manager and the town meeting shall from time to time provide for the grouping of town agencies into convenient units for the delivery of municipal services. The organization of the town into operating agencies for the provision of services and the administration of the government may be accomplished through either of the methods provided in this article. Please continue. This is a section we can do. We could make a bylaw. Okay? I'm not going to read this whole thing. Okay? But as long as it fits within law provisions of the charter, town meeting may create a bylaw to consolidate, create, or merge, divide, or abolish any town agency. So we could do a bylaw, but we don't have to do a bylaw. Why? Because the town manager has this power already. So instead of creating an entirely new bylaw, the authority vested in the town manager to act already exists. We're just asking her to act with this so that she will act. And this vote will direct her to act, exercising her power and duty without having to create a separate bylaw, which basically creates red tape in government. Next slide, please. Section 4.2, powers and duties. These are the powers and duties of the town manager: to reorganize, consolidate, or abolish in the manner provided in Article 5, town agencies serving under the supervision of the town manager, in whole or in part, provide for new town agency and provide for a reassignment of powers, here we are, duties, and responsibilities among these agencies so established, which gives her permission to be able to do so. The town manager has authority to make this change on her own to make this clarification. We're basically just asking her to do it with this vote. Next slide, please. All changes, this is a secondary issue which comes directly to the rules and regulations of the Cemetery Commission, this particular section. All changes to the rules and regulations of the cemeteries shall be made under the following schedule and process, and only upon approval by the majority of vote of the inhabitants of the town of Lunenburg at annual town meeting or special town meeting, according to the following schedule and process. A, the Cemetery Commission, listen clearly, the Cemetery Commission shall be permitted to make rules and regulations changes, not requiring the expense of money, only by submission of a warrant article at the annual town meeting or the special town meeting for a vote of the inhabitants of the town of Lunenburg, subject to the approval of the article by the town manager, 2/3 majority of this board, and the finance committee. Next slide, please. And B, this has to do with the money. So this is why this is separate. Listen to when this gets handled. This can only be handled at annual town meeting because it becomes a budgetary issue. So, B, the Cemetery Commission shall be permitted to make a rules and regulation change requiring the expense of any money, including expenses derived from the following funds, but not limited to: the sale of lots fund, perpetual care fund, a family trust fund, a gift or donation, or any and all monies allocated or procured, including the granting of any refunds, only by a submission of a warrant article, which shall be presented with a comprehensive, collaborative, written plan for its specified use, which we don't have today, which includes a presentation of the Director of the Department of Public Works, who is the overseer of the Department of the Cemetery, okay, and the cemetery superintendent, who is the one who manages and maintains the cemetery, and the town manager, and then presented at the town annual meeting. At the town annual meeting, because it's budgetary, for a vote of the inhabitants of the town of Lunenburg, subject to the approval of the warrant article, obviously, same thing, town manager, 2/3 your board, 2/3 finance committee. I think that's reasonable when somebody's going to spend money that they have in a fund, which I can explain to you those numbers a little later, what they are. Next slide, please. So the making of rules and regulations without the oversight, particularly ones that are financially unsustainable, more so the ones that leave the door open for abuse, open the town to liability. So giving a commission discretion, like they did recently in rules and regulations change, of headstone and bench sizes can lead to inurements to the company that may be providing it. It's more money, patronage to a specific individual because they have discretion. They can choose for you, yes, or choose for somebody else, no, okay? Due to this board discretion. So this has recently happened where the commission changed rules and regulations specifically to accommodate a family member of a former board member, and they did do that. They changed one rule to allow a 4-foot bench to go into one location before they finalized 6 months later all the rules and regulations would had to be amended because the lawyer wanted it amended, okay, 6 months later, okay? They even used money from the sale of lots fund for this individual to pay for a foundation installation to hold the bench, an engraving on that oversized bench, and even asked if they could pay money for flowers, and Karen had to tell them no. You can't use cemetery money to buy these family flowers for their grave. So the commission used that money, okay, for this particular family, okay? In addition, they made the rules and regulation change only to effectuate that patronage. The granting of the commission to make decisions regarding care, maintenance, and to direct operations of the cemetery, where the commission itself lacks experience, skills to effectuate these specific duties, is why they are a department under the DPW. They are advisory to the DPW, who is skilled, and the cemetery superintendent, who is skilled. Next slide, please. For example, a liability. This is what happens. So there's a liability that can happen to this town. Is always by a promise of 3 to 4 inches, but no less than 2 grass, which the finances and manpower available are not able to sustain such rules on a regular basis and regulations. That's a financial issue for the DPW. Okay? That's also a huge financial cost. I'll explain that later. A liability is giving discretion over headstone or bench size, which I explained earlier, which interferes also with day-to-day maintenance and operation. Why? Because now you have a bench in the way, you can't get in there, you have to hire another person to come in and cut around this, you just can't run a mower through it, okay? It causes an issue. That's a financial issue and a DPW concern. Not only does it interfere with day-to-day maintenance, it interferes with uniformity, aesthetics, as well as it is unfair for residents who have been turned away in the past. And it is susceptible to abuse and selective patronage and inurement to some residents over treating everyone equally. So there's a warrant article that's presented for $50,000 for the second part of the cemetery. I just want to make clear to people, there's a reason for that. I have an email from your cemetery commissioner, Nancy Yasko, that says that I will let you move your father's grave from one place to the other after I get that built. It's in an email, I have it, I'm not going to name the family, but they were promised that when that's built, they'll let them do it. The push to build that and spend $50,000 is showing another patronage. Next slide, please. The Cemetery Commission shall be permitted to use money held by the town of Lunenburg. This is great. This is what a Cemetery Commission should be allowed to, okay? All right? See the list as included, as I mentioned in reference 4B above. I'm not going to read it again. only upon a submission of a comprehensive written plan and presentation from the commission, from the Department of Public Works, from the cemetery superintendent, from the town manager, and presented to the Select Board and Finance Committee, meet the guidelines for those approval, as I had just mentioned, of this article, and be presented at annual town meeting for finalization. I think that's an efficient process. Next slide, please. Okay, the following actions of the committee, okay, of the commission, which must require approval for monies, include, but are not limited to, this is taken from the statute, okay, for the perpetual care and maintenance of the cemeteries, and for the layout of any existing public burial grounds in the town, or to purchase any land for such cemeteries, either in lots or other suitable subdivisions, with proper paths and avenues to plant, embellish, ornament, or fence, and erection therein such available edifice and conveniences, and make such improvements as it deems convenient. So, these are the things that need proposals from people who know what they are, where they go, where they're placed. Next slide, please. Mass General Chapter 115, Section 25, the Board of Cemetery Commissioners, gifts and bequests for cemetery investment funds and dispositions of proceeds of sales. This is telling you what you're supposed to do. The town treasurer shall invest all such funds in accordance with the stipulation, if any accompany them. It's the town treasurer's job, not the cemetery commission's job. However, this town likes to adopt the second part of that, which I'll get into in a minute after I really read the other highlighted part. Okay? The proceeds of sales of lots or rights of burial in such cemetery shall be paid into the town treasury, be appropriated to reimburse the town for the cost of the land, its care, improvement, embellishment, or the enlargement of the cemetery, not for patronage, not for inurement, not for any other benefit. Next slide, please. The secondary section of that is clear, okay? It says that otherwise the town, okay, can allow the cemetery to do that. But your cemetery is not skilled to do that and to manage money. But your town treasurer is. This town treasurer is responsible for the investment of these monies, which when instructed to do so, will invest according to this section of the warrant article. Who better to know of these finances in the course of the distribution? An independent commission with no oversight or knowledge of the costs without first consulting the expertise of the DPW, abiding in this law as the town has been allowing as written, wherein it states, here it is, the second part I said I would read, otherwise he shall invest them as ordered by said commissioners and pay the income therefrom upon their order or with their approval. Okay? This is what you've been doing. I can show you over $10,000 worth of waste because of that failure. Okay? That's a failure. There's no check and balance. Over the last 3 years, this commission, having the stewardship, has squandered at a minimum $10,431.30. I will tell you, in 2023, they spent $5,500 to do a grass cutting study because they didn't think that the grass was being cut. Are you serious? Really, folks? Let's be real here. $5,500 out of $10,000 a year that we allot for them at town meeting, and they spend it on a grass study. They spent another $2,000 on a failed wall proposition. That's $7,500. That's only two, and those are in addition to the ones that I haven't shown you yet. Okay? So, out of $30,000, they have been given by our vote at town meeting of $10,000 annually, which has been, obviously, it gets grouped into, what do they call that, Bill? I forget the name of it, that where you group them all into one bill and you vote on it. The omnibus bill. There you go. Thank you very much. Sorry, but you can't remember all these names. Okay? So annually, which has been grouped into the omnibus bill, okay? And this provision will stop this from happening. Next slide. There it is. So if you highlight it, I can't show you, but they also bought a license recently to be able to have access to DD-214 Social Security numbers, okay, which are federally protected records, which I've already informed the town manager and the town attorney about, as well as other authorities, including military records, okay, that only certain persons are allowed to have that information. These records are contained in that. They have 2 licenses. The license costs $2,000. The DPW has a license. Do you think that if you want to see what's in something, you could say, hey, DPW, I want to see this program. Can I sit with the cemetery superintendent and go through some things I want to look at? Yes. Well, that would save us $2,000. Have they done that? No. They went and they voted for $2,000 to get a license for themselves. And the kicker is this. They don't have an office. They're not using a server that belongs to the town. They're not protected, okay? What if somebody hacks her Xfinity at home or on her phone? Is it a government phone? No, it has no protection. And that information gets out. Cause of death. There are people that have committed suicide. There are some families that will say, oh, my husband had a heart attack. But, you know, they're the only ones that know that they committed suicide. But they don't want you to know that. And these elected officials now have access to that information if this town manager has signed it. But everybody's balking me here to get that information. But I'll get it on a Freedom of Information. It'll be fine. And I'll find out. But there's a whole list of things here. There were flower plantings. We paid somebody to plant flowers. When they didn't do it, we paid landscaping company here, Lakeview Landscaping. I have a record that says Lakeview Landscaping gets all the work in the cemetery. That's an annulment. Okay? And I don't have a problem with Lakeview. I don't have a problem with them at all. But, you know, you got Gatsby Grounds, you got, you know, Bulak Brothers, you got all these other places locally in town that have a right to that information, right to access. But I have minutes, which I've read, that say all work will be done by Lakeview Landscaping. So, and that's the list there. I'm not going to go and read through it. You can skip to the next slide, please. So we're asking for a yes vote on this warrant article, which will basically clarify the process that best benefits our cemetery operation for the benefit of all Lunenburg residents and their family. A yes vote is a vote for the cemetery's efficiency, its fiscal responsibility, and its responsibility, obviously, to the inhabitants of the town of Lunenburg. Our cemeteries have been in a power struggle these last few years, coupled with waste and spending, patronage, inurement, and nothing getting done efficiently. This warrant article will require a collaboration of all parties and create a more financial accountability to us, the voters. And that's why I'm asking that you vote yes. My next presentation will show all the reasonings behind that, which is the solution to the reason why we can't afford $180,000, okay, in staff labor, plus an additional $20,000 for part-time labor for our cemeteries in the current budget crisis and climate that we're in. So that's my warrant article presentation. My other presentation, do you guys want to have questions, or how do you want to handle that, Mr. Chairman?
Are there any questions from the board on the warrant article? Just to be clear, you have another presentation, but it's not exactly related to the warrant article.
Well, it is related, because what it does is that it's not specifically related. No. So you can close the warrant article. The other one is a follow-up to the warrant article that shows the money, okay, and shows the reason to be able to fix our cemetery. And that's why I placed two things on the agenda tonight. Because this is the solution to the problem that this warrant article has, I think the people need to hear.
There are 28, 20, yeah, 28.
All right. Fly through this.
I am.
Let's
This
get
one's
through it
quick.
real
That
quick.
one required me to
Okay?
talk to you. No, sorry. That one required me to talk to you. This one will go pretty quick.
This one's out in the main folder.
Okay.
All right. She's pulling it up. We can do it, but it's got to be quick.
I'll be fast.
Can we get the other, is the other one in our folder?
Yep,
It
so
is.
the
It's in
one is under the town meeting
Okay,
sub-file, and then this
Okay.
one's out in the main.
And this is called the Cemetery Corporation
Yep.
proposal? Okay.
Now, this is the solution. So, again, I'll introduce myself again. My name is...
Do that.
You don't have to,
Jump into it.
Do you want me to do it again?
No.
Okay. So the thing is that, so I don't have to look behind me, if you just bear with me a second. So, okay. So what we have here is, I have the Cemetery Commission proposal. Okay, so this is, we have it up. Thank you very much. You're going to go back one slide.
It's up, it's just,
Oh,
that
there we go.
TV has a little delay.
All right, because I was looking at that one.
Yeah.
That one's slow.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
okay,
at
so,
the actual
yeah, whatever,
public
okay,
access
well,
feed.
it's, you know, hey, government is slow. TV's approving it. So, all right, this is a mutual benefit cemetery corporation for the town of Lunenburg. This is the best approach economic solution respecting those who have come before. So I'll blast through this for you, okay? This is pretty much just explanation without, you know, too much enhancement. What is a mutual benefit cemetery? It's an organization chartered solely for the purpose of disposal of human bodies by burial cremation. More generally, the plot owners in the cemetery are considered the members of the organization. Plot owners. You're not paying a separate membership fee. You buy a plot, you're a member. A member has what? Votes. Okay? That gives power to the people. What laws govern a mutual benefit cemetery in Massachusetts? Mass General Laws, Part 1, Title 16, Chapter 114, inclusive of Sections 1 through 51, which is the same that basically governs the Cemetery Commission. A governing body is the independent managed authority of a cemetery as applied to a national veteran cemetery, state veteran cemetery, municipal cemetery, religious or private nonprofit. These are just definitions. Organization of the corporations are also subject to Chapters 155, Sections 1 and 13, Section 34, Chapter 158. I'm not going to go through all of this in detail. If you want, you can read the PowerPoint over yourself. It kind of gives a good explanation. Okay, Section 1B, cemetery corporations. These are the liability of directors, officers, and trustees, which you don't have with just a commission. But just remember, having a corporation does not abolish your commission. Isn't that the good thing? The good thing is that the citizens still have a say who are not members of the benefit society of the cemeteries, which are only open to Lunenburg residents. So there is an asset of check and balances. Skill related to need. We need, I'm skilled, I understand, and that's how this works. Okay? Powers and duties of cemetery corporations, obviously. This is all in Chapter 114, okay? So if we go to the next slide, Section 5, cemetery corporations, trust funds, how money's handled. Section 5C, fiduciary duty owed to contributors to the trust fund. Subject to Section 5, the corporation's duty is to the trust fund contributors, which is obviously the people and the members, with strict guidelines for fund expenditures. Strict guidelines, that's the key. They're regulated. You are strictly governed. Why are you strictly governed? Because trust fund contributors are entitled to all rights and practices under the Uniform Securities Act. That's why. This brings money into control, okay, with serious controls. This isn't just, oh, the board said. This is serious controls, okay, which means more fiscal discipline. What is the legal structure of Massachusetts Mutual Benefit Cemetery Corporation? They're incorporated under Chapter 156A or D that has elected to be a benefit corporation under Section 405, okay? They're a general public benefit, which means a material positive impact on society it creates and the environment taken as a whole as measured by a third-party standard from the Business and Operation Benefit Corporation. Do you see how that works? See, that works there's all these checks. Okay? A specific public benefit. What is a specific public benefit? Well, accordingly, this isn't promoting arts or anything. It's facilitating the flow of capital assets to entities with a general public purpose, which is Section 6. It's conferring any other particular benefit on society or the environment, Section 7. So it does qualify. Section 9 says, in addition to its purpose as a business corporation, a benefit corporation shall have the purpose of creating a general public benefit. The articles of organization may identify one or more specific benefits that is the purpose. The identification of a public benefit shall not limit the obligation of the benefit corporation. The creation of a general public benefit and specific benefit under Sections A and B shall be in the best interest of the benefit corporation. Now, just so you know, this is operated like a nonprofit. Nobody makes money here but the town. A mutual cemetery corporation classified by the Internal Revenue Service as 501c13. This differs from a for-profit cemetery company in that they are for the private use of their members. Though membership can be either narrow or broad, Lunenburg cemeteries are already reserved for only Lunenburg residents. It's most common for this type of organization structure to represent historic cemeteries, but not only for these cemeteries. We have historic cemeteries in North and South, and they're available to receive resources. Right now, only South Cemetery is on the National Register, but even the North Cemetery qualifies for that, and this should be a priority for our Historical Commission. Well, why has it not happened? So a mutual benefit cemetery of this structure provides more oversight to get things done in a timely fashion. Okay? So, that being said, next slide, please. In order to qualify for tax-exempt status, you have to file certain papers. But the other curious aspect is that donations can be tax-deductible. You want to give, we had a donor wanted to give $175,000. That could have been tax-deductible. Then we have monies that what they can be used for, to pay ordinary expenses, buy cemetery property, create a fund. They're disallowed from running mortuary or funeral services, right? But they are allowed to sell items such as incidentals like vaults, urns, flowers. There's a means to make money here, okay, to pay for the upkeep and perpetual care, okay? All right, it is a private benefit. No private benefit, okay, or profit will go to any one individual. It's prohibited. Okay? You can celebrate the natural landscape, you can protect local habitat, promote green burial advancements, there's all sorts of things to do. You can serve as a living, healing sanctuary. I mean, you got the Newton Cemetery, there's a whole host of different arboretum cemeteries that get developed through this process. What are the pros and cons? Let's see. Cemetery Commission pros, regulated by statute, elected citizen representation. Cemetery cons, cannot hold donations, get loans, raise money, build interest. Cannot act or make changes without increasing tax money. Susceptible to patronage or providing inerments to businesses or individuals. No oversight to prevent fraud, waste, and abuse. Limited to monthly meetings. Minimum members for voting. Unqualified elected members. Let's see what a mutual benefit society can do. They can hold donations, raise money, fundraise, build interest, loans. They can act and make changes without increasing tax money. They're not susceptible to patronage because of their strict oversight. Their oversight can prevent fraud, waste, and abuse, which is highly regulated because they're a 501c13, not a 501c3, but their donations are treated like 501c3. Full-time professional staff, 5 qualified board members. Strictly regulated, membership-driven, people who own plots, they're the members, but the citizens have a say. Right? That's why you have the commission still. Voting rights for members. Members direct the cost and look and feel of the cemeteries. Donations tax deductible. What are the cons? If there's any questions, I haven't found any yet. So here's some of the things that we can do in financing expenditures. A cemetery corporation, okay, to the next slide, please. Thank you. It might be hard to read. Okay, you can take donations. You can create what they call a Friends of the Cemetery group, where you can take donations from anyone and everyone. General bequests can just be general funds. We're talking $25,000 to $125,000. Friends of the Cemetery could be from California. They could be from England. It doesn't matter. We can get money from anywhere. General bequest, $1,000 to $50,000. That's people that say, oh, my father left this. That's a general bequest. My father left this and wanted to give it, okay? Or my mother, or my friend, okay? Sale of lots. Cost of lots, $1,600 to $3,600. Right now, our lots are too low to be able to sustain its current state. Fundraising, toll booths, historic tours, all sorts of stuff. $1 to $1 million. There are some places that get lots of money. Operating expenses, $10,000 to $500,000. Those are grants. Perpetual care, $1,000 to $750,000 plus. These are grants, okay, for cemeteries, to fix the veterans portions of it, to fix the historical portions of it, to fix the conservation area, and which is, we have some stuff, within 100 feet, which is under conservation. There's all sorts of money for that. We can also do the sale of goods with the Cemetery Benefit Corporation. You can sell flowers. You can sell vaults, you can sell urns, okay? All the incidentals that come with that instead of handing it to somebody else, and use that money to actually increase the benefit to your cemetery, okay? This is what we have for money, okay? The proceeds of sale of lots, rights of burial in the cemeteries be paid into the treasury. I already had read this to you. Money declared by written instrument to be intended for perpetual care, maintenance, improvements, embellishment to an amount not less than $200 may be deposited with the state treasurer. Here is what a cemetery commission can do. No operating expenses, no perpetual care, no flowers, vaults, urns, state fund, interest only, which is $1,600 in perpetual care. Cost of lots, $400 to $1,600, which is not sustainable. They can't take a general trust funds donation, and they're restricted or limited. When they do take a donation, they have to use that donation in the first fiscal year, or it ends up in the town's overall budget in free cash, and it basically goes to the town's bottom line. So there are cemetery corporations around the country. Hillcrest Cemetery Association in Athens, Georgia. I won't go through these. Macon Cemetery, okay? Lancaster Cemetery, go up to 19, please, okay? Okay, and, these are, yep, 2 more. And then, and then you can, and this is where, these places exist and they do well across the country as well as in Massachusetts. Now you have the North Cemetery right here in Lunenburg, okay? There it is, okay? See how the grass is all dark? Because it needs care. It's damaged, okay? It's damaged badly, okay? Go to the next slide. Do you see the next slide? Is the South Cemetery, okay? Yeah, this was taken in the fall, but you notice how the grass, okay? I mean, look at it. It's matted, okay? It's damaged. It needs care. Now, go to the next slide. Wouldn't it be better to look like this? Let's just look at it. What are the wants and needs? Right now, your cemetery, if you look over on the far right, next slide, please, all the way down to the bottom, you'll see $532,500. You all read exactly what that is, okay? That's what your cemeteries have right now, okay? Those are the needs. The wants are land leveling, irrigation, replace grass, new curbing, entrances, but you're working on a little wall project, a little electrical flag project, a wall repair, grub control, crack filling. You're doing paint over tape. I have 2 slides. You're doing paint over tape. Okay, next slide, please. Here's your money. This is the kicker. Your account balance right now in your sale of lots fund is $94,394.66. Your balance from fiscal year is $10,661. Your unexpended funds are $4,650, which is being allocated because that has to go to fix the skirt in the South Cemetery. So your actual balance is $6,011 is what you have. The balance available for fiscal year 25 is $26,895. Perpetual Care gets about 1.8% interest. Right now, they have $219,000 in Perpetual Care. They can't spend that money. They can only spend the interest. That's the money that goes into the state treasury, okay? But their interest balance right now that they have available is $20,078. So if you take $96,000, $20,000, you put all that together, you deduct everything out of that you need from their $96,000 what we have available, what does that leave you with? That leaves you with, if you look down the bottom, $21,439.27. Okay, that's out of $100,000. That's 1 year, and you haven't even paid your employees, your DPW guys, your part-time help, okay? Yeah, the $20,000 that you allot to the DPW every year in the warrant article, okay? So you don't even have that. Okay, so the total available for fiscal year 2025 is $46,000 that they're holding right now. They have $120,000, but they want to ask us taxpayers for $50,000 in the capital plan because they made a promise to somebody about a lot in the North Cemetery. Naughty, naughty. And that's why this will work. That's why this will work. And if you review this, you take a look at it, and you take a good detail, okay? Do we lose our commission? No. In your eyes and ears, they're the eyes and ears of the community. Go to the next slide, okay? They inform of the actions of the Cemetery Corporation. They bring forth community ideas from their constituents who are not part of the membership. And every person can become a member by buying, becoming a friend of the cemetery. I want to, give $100 every year. Maybe, but your voice still gets heard because you have a cemetery commission that has to report to the Cemetery Corporation. Do we have to consolidate the commission with another board? Maybe, but not necessary, but consider conservation, parks, or historical. Because why? The state does that. Who can play a role to success by driving additional individual grants and funds into the cemetery? Now, how can the Cemetery Commission help to jumpstart the process? This is the good part. This is where I got told, oh, we're not doing it. I've been told this multiple times at our cemetery meetings. First would be to publicly support the exploration of a cemetery corporation and then provide an analysis of the needs from a qualified organization, which I'll discuss below, and to pay about, now, hold on, $4,200, but wait a minute. It's so small right now just to get it started, okay? From the sale of lots account for an exploratory purposes, hiring 2 qualified organizations, okay, as well as providing resources to and for our cemeteries. Next slide, please. Did we lose our, Massachusetts Cemetery Association. What support organizations are there to help the commission and the Cemetery Corporation further this new change? The Massachusetts Cemetery Association, run by Tom Daly and Guy Glotis, your former, who? Sheriff of Worcester County, retired since Lou took over. So they can be brought in for roughly about $600, and I've already talked to Tom Daly, and evaluate all things cemeteries from looking at accounts, future needs, to management and landscaping and repair, and provide a cost analysis. They can look at all the books, okay? Second would be the foundation group. This is what they do. They specifically develop and organize and evaluate organizations that are interested to set up a cemetery corporation, okay, and what needs and costs there are to form such organizations before getting started, okay? You're talking about $2,200. Roughly, plus the 6. That's why I said, don't get nervous about the 4,200. Oh my God, 4,200. Okay, it's less than 3,000. Okay, 2,500 would be the max to start. Then you have the New England Cemetery Association, which is responsible for collecting and disseminating of information pertaining to the operation, maintenance, improvement of cemeteries. Does your cemetery commission belong to these groups? No. Do they know about these groups? No. Do they talk about these groups? No. They want to talk about robot motors to mow grass. What other boards and commissions should get involved? Conservation, parks, historical, all can play a role in driving additional funding and grants. Lastly, but not leastly, and I know you guys are like dying for me to end, but how much does it cost to get started? Probably about $2,800 as a jumping point to bring in the pros. Your cemetery commission or even the DPW director or town manager has the means to authorize this spending. But you know what they've done? They've ignored me every time. Oh, we're not doing that. Oh, we don't do this. That's your cemetery commission. Barking at me, okay, all the time. Watch the last meeting. She cut me off at the end when I started to talk about a cemetery corporation. Because every time I talk about it, go back, listen to all the meetings. Don't want to hear it. They cut me off every single time I want to mention it. So I appreciate you listening. How can the residents in town participate? This is the best part. Spread the word. That is the best method, which is the best method to meet all our neighbors, okay? Get involved, organize together, talk about it. You know what I mean? Go to the cemeteries, look at them, okay? Take them in the new direction, have a vision, you know what I mean? Be a visionary, okay? Respect those people who have come before you, okay? And you can build it greater for years to come. This is your choice. This is your cemetery. We own the cemetery, the people. But see, I say it's yours because you have the money. Okay? But it's ours, okay? And if we're not looking at it telling you what to do, you don't do it. So participate, I ask the community, in cemetery opportunities. Somebody create a Facebook page. Somebody volunteer to help this move forward besides me. This is all necessary for the success of our cemeteries. Cemeteries are not financially sustainable. They have millions. I have the number, $1.2 million worth of work. I couldn't identify all that here. $1.2 million. I showed you $532,000 of Band-Aids, and you don't have that. But I thank you very much for taking the time to listen to my warrant article, also listening to my presentation for the Cemetery Corporation. But I really do believe, and I have a passionate attitude towards this, that I think that when you respect the dead, and there is one caveat that I'm going to raise that I wanted to leave for last, and this is for you, Mr. Jeffries. As a former military member, and this is for you, as a present military member, you are bound by Massachusetts general laws. Bound, it says, shall have one veteran in every cemetery in this town by law, taking care of every veteran grave. You ever see where my father's buried? Up in Westminster? Where is it? I can't remember those towns way out there.
The State Veterans Cemetery?
Yes. My father's buried there. You ever see how pristine those graves look? Good. That's what this should look like with a veteran taking care of it by statute. That's why they did it. And are we doing that? No. Where and when did money come above respect? Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate you all listening.
Thank you, Mr. Bowen. I will open it up to questions or comments from the board.
I have one question.
Sure.
You illustrated or gave slides about where it's being done in the country. Is this being done anywhere in the Commonwealth?
Yes. So you have the Newton Cemetery. You have the cemetery in Cambridge, and it escapes me right now, and I used to hang out there. It is
Mount something.
Mount Auburn?
Mount Auburn Cemetery.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, okay. If you look at these places, right, they look like Public Garden in Boston. Do you know what I mean? Like the Newton Cemetery, I put a call in, because I've been in communication with them for a while. I put a call in to see if I could get a hold of the president, because he had a board meeting the other day, but he got tied up. But the thing is that if you see, they win awards for like nice trees and nice plants and nice flowers. And when they win those awards, it's kind of like getting the Nobel Prize. They get not just an award, they get a check. Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, there's incentives, you know what I mean, to be able to have a place of peace and comfort and reflection that a cemetery is supposed to look like. Our cemeteries look like, even though Todd Holman cuts all the grass as often as he can, there's only so many hours in a month. Do you know what I mean? And staff is all contracted out. Those people don't have a heart for a cemetery. They're just coming in to get a check.
So my second question, after hearing the answer to my first question, is why wouldn't you put Massachusetts cemetery corporations in your slides? Why would you choose things?
And that's a good question. Because the ones that are nationally don't look as good as the ones that are here, but they look way better than ours. And that's why I did that. And I'm glad that you asked that. I was hoping somebody was going to ask me that. And that was done intentionally. Massachusetts has a pride over their, their value of things. These folks around the country, they have just as much pride, but they don't do it like people in Massachusetts do it. Does that make sense? And that's why I wanted to show those. I wanted you to see that, look, these cemeteries aren't doing it with a lot of money, but they're looking and growing a lot better than what we're doing with no money.
The reason I asked the question, and just in response to what you just said, we're glad somebody asked it. What it looked like is that there are none, which is why you chose things in other states, which does not support your argument. So I would say you'd want to include the ones in Massachusetts to show that people in our own state are doing it. You can include the other ones as well.
Sure.
But it looks like you didn't put one because they don't exist.
I'm not a pro, but thank you.
Just providing feedback.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a pro, but yes. So Massachusetts does. So if you go on to the Massachusetts Cemetery Association, you can find out, you can find out all the different associations that are. You can go to any and look it up too. You can look up cemetery associations in Massachusetts based on, I think there's 425 cemeteries in Massachusetts. I think that's how many there are. And I think 22% of them are cemetery corporations. And remember, a corporation's not making money. People think corporation. They're not making money. They're paying for perpetual care. That's all the money is. You're paying a board of directors to basically manage, okay, with the skill, the knowledge, and the financial ability, and be able to, apply and, and get, grant money, or to, establish a cost, take out loans, to write for loans based on what money they have. We have $100,000. You want to spend $50,000 on a capital plan when they have $100,000. They want to keep it because they said they want to keep the interest. That's $1,800 for letting that sit for a year. They didn't even put the warrant article into the omnibus budget for $10,000, and our tax money is going to the DPW for $20,000. And the cemetery says, we're not going to pay for anything. The people are already given 20 grand. This is why we need a different approach, because we don't have the financial sustainability to get them where they need to be, and they're just going to get worse. Do you ever see them flood? I watch them flood. I live across the street. They flood. They flood because of the way the land is. That dips the graves. That's a problem. And it also breeds grubs.
So I will say, Mr. Chair, that I'm certainly interested in pursuing this. It certainly rises to a level of further investigation. Absolutely. This cemetery
Corporation. Yep.
I'm not the expert.
I'm not going to be here, but I'm going to say that out loud here, that I think it certainly makes sense to investigate it further.
I mean, I'm not the expert. Tom Daly is, and the guys at the Massachusetts Cemetery Association. Those are the people for $600 will come here, walk through every cemetery. Tom told me, when I talked to him last year, he goes like this, he says, yeah, I just got back from England looking at a cemetery in England because they wanted my expertise. This is the guy you're getting, just so you know, okay? And, and you have other people on the boards there, over there at the Cemetery Association. Guy Glotis handles all the legislative stuff for the organization to get things for cemeteries, and he puts bills in and does all that stuff for them. So Tom is a very, very well-run, and Bill Bernard knows who Tom is, and so doesn't Todd Holman. They know who he is, okay? They can make a call and say, I have a $600 check for you. Come in and evaluate us. Okay, and the town manager doesn't need any permission from a cemetery commission. I just showed that to you. All the town manager needs to do is, we're paying $600 for that, and can tell the cemetery commission, you have to take it out of the sale of lots fund, or she says, Bill, take it out of the $20,000 that we gave you. Do you see? Obviously you wouldn't want to overstep your, I get it. You don't want to be like, Bill, do what I tell you to do. Do you know what I mean? But like I said, it's definitely something that we should focus on. Let's make, I'm going to say it, make our cemeteries great again.
Yeah, you're right. You shouldn't have said it.
Just kidding. Just kidding. I thought I was trying to get a chuckle out of y'all. Y'all look like you're sleeping. So that's, that's where we're at. And I appreciate that, Mr. Alonso. And I told you that I was going to put it together when it was the right time, the right moment, and the right need. And right now is the right time, the right moment, the right need. For me to have brought this a year ago, I don't think it would have been paid attention to as much as it is today, where we're talking about overrides and cutting things and people suffering. Do you know what I mean? And I think this is the right time, and I think it just worked out.
Amanda? Any questions?
Oh, my
Comments?
what? Nope.
Sorry.
No, I'm just looking at.
Michael Ray?
I have a comment, no questions. I just want to acknowledge the amount of work that went into this presentation.
Thank you.
Basically, I think between the two, it's about 50 slides. You had a lot of background pictures, a lot of information, and I know that this took a lot of time. So I just want to acknowledge that.
I appreciate that, Mr. Jeffries. Thank you.
I'll echo that too, and I'll just say, I have to say, the warrant article is several pages, so there's a lot there. I want to go through it all because I want to understand what you're actually proposing. That is still in progress. I mean, we're talking like planning board article level of length. And I don't know, the cemetery commission, I'm going to go through it all.
And that's why I sent it to you
Yeah.
all early, and I know you can't discuss it until you first have it presented, but now it's been presented, so now you can eat it and talk. Do you know what I mean? Over coffee. And I mean, like I said, is that, I try to give it to everybody early. Bill Bernard has it, Todd Holman has it. I didn't bother sending the cemetery commission. They just told me, no, they're not interested, so I didn't even bother. So if you guys want to share that over there, and hear how, I've already told you what they told me. So, that's why I thought that it was it was a viable option here, And, it's like, it's not an easy decision, and it's an evolutionary change that won't happen overnight, but that board needs to be reined in, and somebody needs to give that board oversight before this is in place. It needs that oversight. And the oversight can be had right here at town meeting, just by a direction of the town manager. Instant oversight. Instant. Don't need a bylaw, don't need a charter change, don't need nothing.
If I may.
Sure.
I hear you. I think that my opinion is that in a democracy, we put a lot of power into elected officials. And I think that in our community, it's all boards. Like we have multi-member boards. I think the town clerk is one of the few, maybe is the only elected official that we have that isn't answerable, so to
Sure.
speak, to a group. But I think a lot of power and self-government is the people, and so I'm a little averse to the concept.
I agree.
Of
I'm
an
in
elected
agreement.
official having to report to an employee who is hired by another elected official.
Yep. But it wouldn't be reporting to an employee.
Or-
So financial accountability is under the purview of the executive by law, by statute, not an elected board. So unless the elected board, such as yourself, has executive direction over finances, this board can tell what happens with the money. In the meantime, this board has already given the town manager the executive direction in charter to be able to have direction over the money without even coming to you. And if she does come to you, right, it's as a courtesy, which you would expect that your town manager would come to the people that hired her who are really in charge of the money when she's not here and said, hey, this is what we have to do. We're going to do it. I'd like your support, and put it publicly. But she doesn't have to. She doesn't. You've already given her that executive power over the finances, which means that all the money has to do with the treasurer by statute, which means that would be Ezekiel, okay? And the finance director and the treasurer, which would be Mylene, okay? So that without that, okay, if Mylene goes, not spending it there, she can't even do nothing because she's protected by statute. Protected by statute. She can say, that is not the fiscally responsible thing to do, I'm not doing it. And she has to go, oh, okay. And she has to come see you. And then you have to come see us. And then Marlene has to give her position. And then we have a right to give our position. And you have a right to give your position. And then it goes to a financial vote to you, okay? If it's necessary, unless, okay, she stands her ground. But it would be your duty to change that. It would be the public's duty to change that, which would be government working properly. But when it comes to finances, there is always an executive over the finance. We're dealing with that nationally. There's always an executive over the finances for a reason. Because in a time of need, she can merge, she can adjust, she can change, she can alter. Do you know what I'm saying? We gave her that power when we asked you to hire her to do that. And we gave you that power when we voted for the charter that you helped write, that gave her that power, okay? You didn't give her 100% unfettered discretion, but you did, and I had read that, give her power over the merging, adjusting, and the, how duties and so forth work, coupled with statute, who she hires an employee by that statute, and that employee is a treasurer who is the ultimate decider. She could sit there and say, I'm sending a check here. Now you have a fight between her and the treasurer and the executive. The treasurer's going, I'm not doing it. She goes, you're doing it, and I'm not doing it. Where's the arbitration?
Can I interrupt for a second? I'm pretty good at reading these things and reading what you wrote. I have to say that the last 5 minutes, I have no idea where you are. I have no idea what you're talking about right now.
I'm talking about the power of the treasurer over finances.
Okay.
So the treasurer has the power in the town over all finances.
But how did we
in the
get
town.
to that? With
Well, because
the
Michael.
cemetery article?
Well, right. Well, Michael Ray raised an issue about the elected officials having some authority. And I said that, yes, I agree with you that they do have authority and should have some authority, but when it comes to finances, you all hired a person to manage those finances, and the statute gave the treasurer the authority over those finances to answer to DOR, okay, which incorporates her duties and responsibilities, which takes the rest of us and our elected boards off the table when it comes to money, outside of school committee.
Well, there's lots of checks and balances.
Yeah.
There's no doubt.
Yes.
There's no doubt.
Yeah, that's why I raised that, is that I agree that elected people should have power, but when there's money involved, okay, sometimes you have to take the step necessary, okay, to get the work done when you don't have people doing what they're supposed to do. And no, it's not popular, okay? But I can tell you this, I go to every cemetery commission meeting. I'm usually the only one there, or I'm on Zoom. Do you know what I mean? I don't see anybody there, so who's the people? I am. I'm the people. And then the people come and watch it on Facebook, and it gets 300. I think in November I had 2,500 people I saw watched, and then recently it's 433 on Facebook. So guess what? That's a lot more than it was 2.5 years ago. Do you know what I mean? So people are interested. People are looking. The community wants to know, what are you going to do? How are you going to do it, and how do we fix it? Because we want it fixed. And I'm the biggest mouth. Sorry, guys.
I think we covered everything for the Warren article. You got the presentation on the Cemetery Commission. I want to thank you for your passion.
No, and I
all
appreciate
the work that you
guys.
put into it and your engagement, truly. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Tonight.
I appreciate
Have
all.
a good night.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on, appointments, ratifications, and resignations. Don't believe we have any on the agenda. Nope. Town manager report.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item on the report is an update. The assessor's office is preparing for their cyclical inspections. Cyclical inspections are mandated by the Massachusetts Department of Revenue and require the reassessment of all properties every 10 years to ensure accurate data and fair property assessments. There will be a total of 1,500 parcels inspected over the next 3 years. 500 properties being inspected this year, which will start in the next couple of months. So I do understand that a letter was posted online regarding these inspections that caused some alarm with the residents. I think that some folks perhaps thought that there was another full reevaluation going on, but this is just the routine cyclical inspections. So the assessor's office has redrafted the letter, which I reviewed today, and a new one will be posted clarifying why we're doing these, and that this is not a full reevaluation, that this is 500 parcels. In addition, those folks that are one of the 500 owners or less than that, those folks will be getting a blue postcard mailed to their home. Okay, so if you get a blue postcard, that means that your property has been selected for the cyclical inspection. There was some question about, do folks need to let the inspectors into their home? There is no requirement to let somebody into your home, but if you do not, certain assumptions may be made about what the condition of your home is.
So I regret that that letter went out and caused the alarm that it did with the community. Hopefully, this helps to clarify where things are with that. Does anyone have any questions? I know that this was somewhat controversial. I didn't know if anybody...
I was surprised about the controversy because the letter, again, said nothing unstandard and nothing that was not in the practice of Board of Assessors for decades. And the heightened alert, but maybe because of the tax issue in town, or maybe just the people's distrust of everything government these days. But it was, to me, it was over the top, people threatening and people taunting, just see if they get into my house. Like, you don't have to let them in. It should have been said. But like you said, Madam Town Manager, then they make certain assumptions that may or may not be true, that they can't do, but that'll go on the assessed values. And, again, the process has been unchanged basically for decades.
So, folks, if there is a 2018 Subaru Impreza Black with license plate IWAE28, that is Joshua Burlow from Vision Government Solutions, and he is supposed to be there. He's not casing your home or anything like that. So that is the primary goal of why we put that out online, so folks know that there's a vehicle. But hopefully this will clarify it. Next is the agreement between the PEC, the Public Employee Committee, and the town of Lunenburg regarding health insurance is expiring at the end of June. I had a meeting with the chair of PEC last week informally to discuss the process, and they will need to convene their committee, and there's going to be new members on that committee who probably aren't aware of.
Who's the chair now?
Mary Foyle.
Okay.
So Mary Foyle, I think, has been the long-term chair, but there's going to be a lot of new folks. So we're going to proceed with the new agreement, and that'll be before this board eventually. Next is kind of piggybacking on the public comment. For those in the community that aren't aware, the Joint Committee on Ways and Means has scheduled their FY26 budget hearing focusing on local aid for next Monday, March 24th at 11 a.m. That hearing is out in Amherst, Mass, but is also hybrid. Testimony may be submitted in advance to the committee. Currently, I am planning on attending that in person. I do think that showing a physical presence in the room is important. That may change, but that's the goal. But folks at home, you can write a letter to the House Committee on Ways and Means yourself, and I would encourage you to do that.
Mr. Chair, through you to the town manager, may I ask that you provide the Zoom link to this meeting to the board?
Absolutely.
I'll be at my job, but I will try to keep it on while I'm working to hear it.
Will it be recorded? Do we know?
I don't know the state's kind of process for whether those are publicly available after the fact. I will say that there is, in some of the organizations that I belong to, especially the Small Town Administrators Association, that they're generating some advocacy out of that group. They're collecting our positions and they're bringing it forward. So hopefully folks are listening to the serious conditions that we are in this year. Capital Planning Committee is set to meet this Thursday. I know we've kind of talked about capital a little bit and that they need to weigh in. So that is happening this Thursday. So this is the final kind of stamp of the capital plan. Yesterday, the staff enjoyed St. Patrick's Day lunch at the Adult Activity Center. I want to thank all the staff who were able to attend, but in particular, I want to thank Deb Goodsell and her staff who helped set up. And I also want to publicly thank Kathy Clark of Lunenburg Flowers, who, when she heard that this event was happening, decided to donate centerpieces for all the tables. And I just really think that that's a nice gesture to show the staff that folks in the community appreciate them. So that really, Kathy, that's really great. Next is opioid settlement funds. So the town, as the board is aware, is part of the opioid class action lawsuit, and we have been receiving some of the funds as different defendants are settling. We have right now just a little north of $225,000. And so we don't have currently a expenditure plan for those funds. So I have started a discussion with both chiefs. They would like to explore the prospect of hiring a clinician, which was originally underway with the grant, right? So can we use these funds to restore that effort? And so I'm going to raise that up to the Opioid Settlement Massachusetts team and see, and bring that back here as well. But I just wanted to update the board on that.
Mr. Chair. So this has come up before, when the funds were first awarded, and at my understanding is that we can, but I want to raise a strong concern about that, which is, the reason why I think this court case was successful was because so many people died. That the opioid crisis caused a lot of pain in a lot of families. And, we joined a lawsuit because I think we saw available dollars and a way to kind of get some recovery from the people who created this crisis for us. My request is that the government, that we do not find a way to utilize all this money or even the majority of it, but that we find an expenditure plan that helps the people who live in our community that are suffering with opioid addiction to help them get treatment. I know that the idea of, bringing a clinician on staff, that, the concern that I have is once the money dries up and then we get used into having it, it becomes an operational, permanent kind of thing, or it's a loss of services for the community. I certainly see the value in a clinician on staff, but I think that for the family who's out there right now that's suffering, to know that we can assist in some kind of way in helping their loved ones get treatment, to me, this money should be utilized for treatment and to help out the community, again, who's suffering through all this tremendous loss, all this heartache and pain. I would like to see the funds used to support the people who are actually living with this crisis. And not, I know that there's a benefit to the town at large, but I just think there's a lot. If we didn't have so many people die, we wouldn't have the money. And so I think we have to go to the source here, in my opinion.
All right. Let's see, now up to project updates. So the teen room is finished, just punch list items left, but pretty much finished. I went over there last week and it looks really good. So that's very exciting. They have finished our chimney today, our second chimney. So the chimney crew is now gonna move over to Ritter and the roofing crew comes here to Town Hall. The Adult Activity Center kitchen renovation project. So as they had a little hiccup last week, so as they went subgrade below the slab, they found a drain pipe that was rotted. They needed to upgrade the size of that drain pipe for the grease trap, but now they have an extra problem. So that caused a little delay. There's folks coming out to kind of put a sleeve in it and see if that can be a solution. And then once that's fixed, the plumbing can be completed, concrete poured, and flooring completed as well. So the kitchen is expected to reopen beginning April if there's no more unforeseen problems. The secondary kitchen at the activity center is what's being used in the interim. So. Master plan project update. So I held a meeting last week with the chair of the planning board, land use director, and consultant on the master plan project. There had been some comments that the master plan project was not proceeding as expected. So I'm not sure what happened, but the master plan chair was not able to join us on that meeting. But it was a good meeting. It was a productive meeting. I have asked the consultant to provide the town with a status on all of his outstanding deliverables, because I think quite a lot of work has been occurring that we're just not seeing, perhaps because we're not at that time of the process. So he is going to be doing that. We also are out of contract with them. So we talked about a contract extension through the fall. The final deliverable of the scope is that this is presented to a town meeting and the vendor needs to be on board with us through that process. So there was no issues there. We did talk about, because we've been paying them monthly, I had a discussion that is not resolved about us holding back the remainder of all funds until, because we don't have a lot of that fund left. There's about $20,000 out of the total, I think it was $153,000. So I talked about withholding that until the completion. I'm sure we'll have a little bit of negotiation around that. But otherwise, I guess relieved to hear that the work is proceeding, that the consultant is very interested in continuing, and I have offered, whatever assistance I can lend to help this project come to conclusion. I think that having a master plan that is well done, that really the scope of this plan is comprehensive, I think it will be very helpful to the community as we go through these next couple of years of what the direction is and how to get there. So we'll see what happens, but I have a new vacancy, unfortunately. So the part-time assistant to the sewer business manager position is being reposted. And so that candidate, I'm not sure exactly what happened, but it didn't work out for them. And so I know the board just at your last meeting made the appointment. So that is back out. There are some other folks, though, who were interested at the time, so hopefully there's not too much of a delay there. The update publicly is regarding the police chief is that the screening committee held interviews last week, and the process is proceeding. And the other vacancies are the same ones that we have had. The 10-hour-a-week position for the Conservation Commission, though, we're close to scheduling interviews on that one. Still having trouble with the lifeguard and beach director, for those in the public that know anybody that might have the skill set associated there. And I think we're going to have a whole vacancy report shortly. So I'm going to skip over the vacancies.
Mr. Chair, I have one question or a comment about this building. When the roofing gets done, there are a handful of people out in the public that continually ask about the missing weather vane, okay? Which is, the original one is missing, so there should be no more requests about what happened to it, because we don't know, and it is now gone. But my understanding from the prior town manager, not the interim, but our prior town manager, that I thought there was a replica that was being made and so we should look for that. So when the roofing is done, that should go up. People have shown enough interest and enough sustained interest that we should find that and make sure that that's part of the final part of the project.
Good point, well stated. And I think that one of the proponents of that stopped me at Market Basket when I was picking up sandwiches for lunch yesterday and got me here in Fitchburg. So
Kit Walker was working on that when he was here.
I think maybe, yeah.
I think. Mr. Chair, if I may, I have two. First, just thank you so much for your work on the Master Plan Steering Committee and getting the updates on the master plan and working with them. That's a really positive update. And then this is probably mostly rhetorical, but what happens if we don't have a beach director or a lifeguard? Does the beach not open?
I would imagine.
Right?
I would imagine our liability would be substantial without.
So I just think that
No,
is
I think
something
it
that
would
as
be
we.
probably astronomical.
I think that maybe if we start saying that publicly, like if we don't have applicants for this, the town beach is not opening this summer, that might be a good narrative to start having. Maybe we need to be posting that on our social media, doing some more, trying to improve the recruitment on that. I know it's a difficult part-time or temporary seasonal position, but that will have impacts on a lot of our residents if we cannot open the beach because we cannot staff it.
I was down with the facilities director viewing the beach house last week, and I said, what is it like here in the summer? And he said, this place is absolutely packed. So I really am excited to see that, and hopefully we'll get that staffed.
Any other questions? All right, thank you very much,
Thank you.
Jen.
All right.
All right, so let's move on to old business. We have a discussion on budget, capital plan, annual town meeting, warrant articles. So tonight, let's focus on the warrant, so we can start going through and voting to add them and perhaps make recommendations on as many as we can tonight.
And you
So-
have physical warrants in front of you.
Yep, I was just going to say, 'cause I
And
know-
thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know, going through these documents, especially on OneDrive, it seems like it's a little laggy and
Yeah,
it's not as smooth as the actual Google app.
I thought the Google, I was commenting, I think Amanda mentioned that you have to download, because so many things now are in there, like, PowerPoint form or Word form, and I was demonstrating that when you go to like, kind of go through a PowerPoint slide and you click on something on this, it like always pulls up the screen for typing, and so you just can't navigate through slides.
I think that was a very old action item I think I forgot to bring up, was if we could have maybe Annie or whoever manages these download the actual apps, then they open in the apps and they're much easier to look
Okay.
at.
Okay.
I was
Yeah.
going to bring this up during action items.
Yeah, sorry, I
But
didn't mean to
no,
jump the gun,
it's
but since you
okay.
brought it up. Download the apps, okay.
yeah, I think
like
that'll
the
help.
individual, because I have my own personal.
Right,
Yeah.
because the
And it
apps, it's just a lot
opens.
easier to view the documents. It just, that might help.
It's easy to sign into though, as a comment, compared to like the Google Drive, because, I actually use Google Drive, and so it got really complicated with which account, and, but, I don't use Microsoft, so it makes it easier to just, sign into it.
Right, so everyone should have a physical copy of the warrant, and as a reminder, we're going to go through one by one. We need two motions. The first is to put the article in the warrant, and the second is to recommend approval. We don't have to vote to recommend approval on all of them tonight, of course, but I would like for us to determine if we're going to include them all in the warrant tonight, if possible. Sorry, you looked like you were going to say something.
I was, but I was waiting.
Go ahead.
Would it be, as a matter of process, Mr. Chair, would it be helpful as you go through these for me just to process-wise streamline it, make all the motions to include, so that way it's up or down, make all the motions to recommend approval, and that way we can probably just get through this a little more fluidly?
Yeah, we've done that in the past. I was thinking about that too. I'm okay with that process.
All right.
And before you start, Mr.
Yeah,
Chairman,
I-
I did speak to Adam Costa today about, he is in the process of reviewing these articles, so when you get to like the assessor's articles and it says, see if the town will vote to amend Mass General Law, we know we're
Yeah,
not.
I
so-
brought that up again.
So he, I think it was sounding like he needs about probably the remainder of this week to have final language, so any articles that you're approving to be placed subject to the final language.
The language may
being provided by
change.
council.
Okay.
Understand. And I just want to go through the timeline again. So the warrant has to go to the printer by April 7th. So we have tonight, tomorrow night, maybe next week, if we want to have an additional meeting scheduled, and then the following week, Tuesday, April 1st. That'll be our last meeting. So really, it's 3 more meetings, including tonight. I think it's manageable, but just as an FYI, that's what the timeline is looking like. And I guess since I'm talking so much to introduce this, I'll also point out that we are working on scheduling Julie to come in to present on the SAP articles. So that's still, she's not ready yet, they're still working on that, so that will happen at some point as well.
Okay.
All right, that was a lot, so we can just get started now. All right, Article A, authorization to hear and/or accept the reports of officers and committees of the town. Pretty straightforward.
Mr. Chair, I move to include Article A in the warrant.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Oh,
Aye.
one-
Those opposed, no.
okay.
But I think
One question,
Sure.
are we locking
I'll slow
ourselves
down.
into which ones are giving the update? Because I don't know
No,
budget.
we are
Okay.
not.
Okay, good.
no,
Okay.
that's just a summary. That's not even the article. But
I know. I just want to be
Anything
clear.
below the vote required is not.
I can, okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make
So
sure.
that's just understood throughout this, so I don't have to
Yes.
say
Yes,
extra
yes.
language
Yes,
throughout.
yes.
Yes.
Because there is a bit of that throughout. Okay.
There is, yeah, there's quite a bit, and some of it I'll probably call out.
Okay,
But this
so-
one, it'll change.
Okay, no recommendation at this time on how we would, I suggest we don't make a recommendation at this time on this.
why?
Do you think we have, until we know, unless you guys, I move to recommend.
Why would we not accept
Yeah.
reports or committee reports of our own committees?
I think what my thought was until we know who's on it. But I mean, I hear what you're saying, Tom, which is it's not gonna make a
Yeah.
difference, we're gonna support it anyway.
Right. Well, we're gonna at least accept it. We don't have to support it. We're just gonna accept them.
I move to recommend approval of Article
Have
A.
we accepted it? Now I'm
Yes, we did.
confused.
Yeah, we
Okay,
voted.
now I'm just,
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I got
Do we
confused.
finish that vote?
I'll say aye. I don't know if my
All
vote
right.
got, so, yes.
We'll just do it again. So there was a motion made, and it was seconded to add the first article to the warrant. No additional discussion. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, I move for the Select Board to recommend approval of Article A.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. And I am writing all of these down so that we have it recorded. All right, Article B, authorization to borrow and anticipation of revenue and to enter into a compensating balance agreement with the bank.
This was,
Yeah,
Mr.
Jen.
Chair, Jen mentioned this previously and why she was including it. Mr. Chair, I move to include Article B in the annual town warrant.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, I recommend the select board, I move for the select board to recommend approval of Article B.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. All right, moving on to Article C. Authorization to expend funds and anticipation of reimbursement of state highway assistance aid.
Mr. Chair, I move for the select board to include Article C in the annual town warrant.
Second.
Any additional discussion?
I just want to note that when we put, this one was submitted by anonymous, so.
Oh,
Thank you.
good
Thank you.
point, yeah. All right, any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, I move for the select board to recommend approval of Article C.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. All right, moving on to Article D, revolving funds. There's nothing new here.
Mr. Chair, I move for the board to, I move for the board to include Article D in the annual town warrant.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, I move for the board to recommend approval of Article D.
Second.
Any additional discussion?
So these spending limits are being reviewed by the finance director.
Oh, yes, that's right.
To make sure that they're sufficient. I don't know if you want to,
I withdraw
Wait.
the motion.
Withdraw the second.
Okay, and that's to recommend approval, so we're going to add it to the warrant, hold off on recommending approval.
Well, when we will get these, we'll get them before.
I would say, if we were to have a meeting next week, they would be,
Okay,
yeah.
so, okay.
Okay, I don't think that's going to happen. I saw some faces when I brought that up. All right, that was D. Article E, authorization to pay expenses from prior fiscal year, none known at this time.
Mr. Chair, I move to include Article E in the annual town warrant.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously.
I recommend that we don't make a recommendation at this time.
Okay,
Yes, I agree.
that's fine.
All right.
All right, Article F, fiscal year 2025 budget adjustments, and there are none at the time.
I would move that we include it, at least,
Yes.
in the warrant.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously.
And no recommendation on that one.
Yep. All right, Article G, fiscal year 2025 closeouts.
Mr. Chair, I move for the board to include Article G in the annual town warrant.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously.
I
And
also-
This might still,
We pass it over.
yeah, I
Yeah,
think we should
yeah.
pass
Come
this
back.
one over.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Article H, fiscal year 2026 capital program.
I move that we include it in the warrant.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously.
Pass it over until the meeting of
Got
the
some finalization.
final meeting on Thursday.
All right.
And then that brings us to Article I, Lunenburg Middle High School Track and Field Complex.
Mr. Chair, I move to include Article I in the annual town warrant.
Is there a second?
I have a discussion.
All right, let's talk about it.
So I'll second so we can discuss.
Yep,
I think, is this coming up at part of the capital planning committee
I would have to
know.
assume
Is
so.
that-
meeting?
I would
So
imagine
I
that
would-
this is going to be
Yeah.
part of the
Let's hold off.
discussion.
That would be my.
Sure. Just, I have a random question for Tom. Is there a price tag
Yeah.
associated to this one?
I thought it was
What I'm assuming is
100,000.
that this was in the capital.
Well, there's two issues. Is there a price tag, would
Yeah.
be question one, and is there a price tag that we believe we can, have full faith in? And would be a second question.
Okay.
So I don't know if the scope of this has changed. Again, this did not rank high enough to be funded by the town manager's capital planning budget. And the school, from what I understand, from what I see here, is put it forward as a separate article again because it didn't get funded from the capital plan. So, you know,
And this is
I'm
on-
not a big fan of that process,
Understood.
so.
I'd like to withdraw the motion and make a new motion.
Okay.
I move for the board to not include Article I in the annual town warrant.
Well, I'm willing to see what if I may, Mr. Jeffries, I would like to see what the discussion is on Thursday, since it's 2 days away.
Okay.
And.
So, I mean, I'm not
And I have no
opposed to
idea.
it.
Yeah, no, I understand it, but I don't want to be premature.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, in doing it. I want to hear somebody out,
All right, so let's
Okay,
just skip
so we'll
over
delay inclusion, so,
so just delay both on I,
yep,
yeah.
delay, so on I, it sounds like we're delaying the inclusion and we're delaying a recommendation.
Yep, that's correct. We'll just pass
Okay.
over it. All right, Article,
Motion withdrawn.
all right. Thank you. Article J, authorization to fund special projects.
So my question for the town manager, are these final numbers, these are the numbers?
These are the numbers.
Okay, so I would move that we include it in Article J in the warrant.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, I move for the board to recommend approval of Article J.
Second?
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. All right, Article K, Marshall Park debt exclusion.
I would move that we include it in the warrant article.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. So,
Mr. Chair, I move for the board to not make a, actually, can we discuss this before we discuss
We
this?
can.
Before we make a recommendation? So I think that there's a lot of benefit to hearing the presentation. I think that I have enough information to make a recommendation at this time, but I know that I just got an email the other day that the numbers were moving.
They were.
And so, you know, I think that may need to be solidified, so maybe we delay on our recommendation until next week.
that's fine.
I would agree. I mean, just, I'll supersede this. I think on the next three articles, because I want to know the entirety
Yep.
of the request. I wouldn't feel comfortable on any of the next three. This one, the municipal building, or the omnibus budget, making a recommendation tonight until we.
Okay. Can I make a dual motion then, for it to include Article L and Article M into the annual town warrant?
Yeah,
and-
that's fine.
And
I'll
not
second.
make a recommendation at this time.
I'll second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. All right, so that was K, L, and M, and that brings us to N. Amendments to the salary administration plan position titles / grades.
Wait,
Wait,
that's
what?
not in.
Wait,
No. Do you have an older print?
it is for me.
You have the
No.
older printout from when we met before you had me.
I do,
Here.
okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I
That's
didn't
not what
update
I'm
my
looking
printout
at.
Wow,
a
late
couple
breaking
hours
news.
ago. All right. My apologies. All right, Article N, supplement to the Lunenburg Public Schools fiscal year 2026 operating budget.
I would suggest we hold off on this one till tomorrow, delay and delay. Is this what we're talking about for an override? Is this the?
No, this
No,
is the free
This is
cash.
free
Okay.
cash.
Which we need to
I would say we
discuss.
include it, at least include it for discussion purposes. I mean,
Yeah.
unless, do we, hold it, let me ask you this, before I do that, maybe I should ask, are we closer to knowing that this is what we're going to do, and is it going to substantially change? We know we don't know the exact dollar amount.
I
It's
mean,
a very difficult question to answer.
It
I
is.
think the,
All right, then we should hold off. If you can't answer
Yeah.
that definitively, then,
So delay and delay.
yeah,
So we'll delay including and we'll delay a recommendation.
yeah.
All right. And I think for Article O, we're in the same boat, where it's the delay and delay till tomorrow, right?
Are we going to say what article?
Article O is Proposition 2.5 override.
this
Yeah,
is
and
the
this
one
is the one from the
submitted.
town manager, so this is our placeholder for town and schools if we want to decide on a number that is inclusive of all departments.
So,
So we need to work on that too and discuss it.
Yeah, I'm not, I wanted to discuss this, definitely.
so this will be tomorrow, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right,
it's
so
gonna be
this is
tomorrow.
delay and delay.
Yes. All right, so
Can I
that's,
ask a question? Do we know if we have to have a number in the warrant for this override?
So you do not need a number in in the warrant.
Okay.
You do need a number on the ballot.
Okay.
That date, I have it in my calendar, but that's further out. There is a department head meeting tomorrow morning. I am asking department heads, is there anything that if the town were to have an override, that is a need, that is not a want, to get that, solicit that feedback? So, tomorrow night's discussion, you're gonna be getting a lot of information that's probably fresh off the press, new information. This is not, and this is exactly why I said last week that it's my professional recommendation that we are not proceeding with an override this year, because we're not having the time to vet it out, but we are gonna at least participate in that exercise with the department heads tomorrow.
Well, and I want to, if I may, Mr. Chair, just comment that while it may not be legally required, I think it's really falls short of the preparation of somebody at town meeting to not have that number in the warrant, in the
Concur.
booklet being mailed. I think it does not prepare people, and is not, I would highly would not recommend that.
I concur. I'm not interested in including it in the warrant without a number.
Right.
Sure. And I think it's doable. I think we could probably nail down.
Well, yeah, I think that April 7th is when
Yeah.
it needs to go to the printer.
I was just
so,
asking.
yeah.
I know that was a question that got brought up.
And one other question, the meeting tomorrow, did you ask department heads to look beyond next year for this number?
This is all so new information, right?
Yeah.
The override petition came in on Thursday. We don't work on Friday, like, so this is, they're getting this fresh tomorrow morning. I think that probably they're paying enough attention that some folks are thinking about this.
Okay?
All right, so we're skipping over N and O. Is that correct? Those,
Delay and delay,
Yep.
correct.
and then that brings us to P, Article P, amendments to the salary administration plan, position, titles, and grades.
When are we going to hear the presentation from the assistant town manager on this?
So it probably sounds like April 1st.
So if the board were to have a off-cycle meeting next
Yeah.
week, she would be prepared for that. But otherwise, it would be April 1st.
Okay.
Well, I'd make a motion that we include it in the warrant,
Second,
and delay the recommendation until the presentation.
second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. We include it in the warrant, and we are not making a recommendation tonight. Article Q, salary administration plan adjustments for FY 2026.
Mr.
Always
Chair.
same situation.
Yep, Mr. Chair, I move to include Article Q in the warrant and not make a recommendation at this time.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, I move that we include Article R into the warrant and recommend approval.
Second?
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. And just, hold on, I just want to say for the public what that article was, because I know that we're moving really fast, which is good. We're being very efficient tonight. Article R was holiday pay for call firefighters. All right, Article S, appropriate free cash to the stabilization fund. This is another one that's kind of up in the air, right?
Well, I would say that regardless of any free cash transfers and moving around, in my opinion, I would keep
Right.
this on the warrant.
I would
Okay.
move that we put Article S on the warrant and withhold any recommendation at this time.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. Article T, appropriate free cash to the special purpose stabilization fund.
Mr. Chair, I move to include Article T in the annual town warrant and withhold a recommendation at this time.
Second?
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously.
Sorry, that was a delay.
I know, I heard it though, so you're good. That was T. So Article
Correct.
U, appropriate free cash to the OPEB trust fund.
I think we're in the same boat on
Yeah.
this one, too. Mr. Chair, I move that we,
Well, no.
Wait,
This one, we're solid on this one.
Yeah.
My recommendation is that we make this appropriation regardless of anything else that's happening, of the
I see what you're saying. I see
$222,500.
what you're saying.
Well,
Yep.
no, okay, so that is not a source because that is our own imposition of money, how much we put in. That is our own, at a time when money is of great concern.
I believe that regularly funding our OPEB and making regular contributions is of a significant importance. When bond rating agencies look at us, our liability is not, I think it was like 2.9% funded. I would recommend that regardless of other circumstances that are occurring, we still make this contribution to the OPEB trust
Yeah,
fund.
I think that in the context of everything else, I would, while I agree with you, notwithstanding your support for this, I would prefer this evening that we move to include it in the warrant and not make a recommendation tonight until we have the final
I would
conversation.
concur.
So I move to include Article U in the annual town warrant and withhold a recommendation at this time.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. All right, Article V, establish a reserve fund for future payment of accrued liabilities for compensated absences.
This is, we're going to have more discussion on this tomorrow, I take it?
No, probably not on establishing the fund. So this is to establish a fund that we would hold in reserve. It can accumulate year over year, that when folks are separating from service, for whatever reason, that we have a source for their, whatever, their vacation time, and if some folks have a sick payout, that we have a source for that. So it's great when we can anticipate somebody's departure. Well, it's never great when we can anticipate the departure, but budgeting-wise, when there's a known retirement, this is easier. But this is just a source that if somebody's departure is unanticipated, or for whatever reason there's not a source, there is a source to pay them their obligations.
I have a question on that. So, I mean, typically when someone moves on from a position, you're going to have a period of vacancy where you have to post. I mean, wouldn't it generally be true, and I know that we don't pay sick time, but vacation time, that if most staff are only carrying over from year to year their maximum accrual for 1 year, that at any one time, or assumption is that most people will at most have about 6 weeks and 7 weeks, and so assuming that most positions will be vacant for 6 to 7 weeks, wouldn't we assume that the money should be there?
So it gives an option that if it's not there, because I don't think, depending on how tightly you're budgeting, or if, not all departments have that flexibility within their budget. So if the budget weren't to have the flexibility, it's a place. And kind of to jump forward to the next article, which is funding it, I'm not talking about for this first funding anything of substance. I'm talking about $10,000. So we're starting small here, but it's establishing the fund that will live on into perpetuity.
Yeah, I'm for it, as long as it's tightly managed and we don't, that we keep it close to what it needs to be. Right,
Not
so it
building
doesn't
up.
balloon, right, doesn't
Yeah,
balloon
yeah.
into some,
Amanda, were you going to say something?
Just that having worked at the police department, which they do, a lot of them do have sick pay buyouts, and a lot of our employees that have been longtime staffers do, that's not something that's budgeted for. Holiday time, or vacation time, yes, that is an anticipated cost. But even then, it can balloon.
It can.
There's
Especially with the
other
retiree.
things that are involved, that I fully support having this option, because especially as our budgets get tighter and things get harder, we might not always be able to support that within the budgets as they exist now.
Mr. Chair, I move to include Article V, and to recommend approval.
second?
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously.
Up on sugars.
All right, so that brings us to Article W, appropriation to the compensated absences reserve fund. And Jen, you said 10,000. Are we?
I think the article going on,
I-
really the money is probably, it could be in the motion without.
I would make a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would make a motion that we include Article W in the warrant and withhold any recommendation at this point.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. All right, one of these we're dropping. Do we already
I already
remove
did
it?
it.
Okay,
Yep.
great. That's why I have the new one now. All right. Article X, transfer of funds to the OPEB Sewer Trust Fund.
Mr. Chair, I move that we include Article X in the annual town warrant and recommend approval.
Second?
Any additional discussion?
I'm just gonna stop talking.
Those in favor said aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. All right, Article Y, FY 2026 Sewer Enterprise.
Mr. Chair, I move that we include Article Y in the annual town warrant and recommend approval.
I would,
I think it's
if you
explained
would,
below.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to see their budget before I approve anything.
I think it's noted in the summary.
Is it?
The number is
There are
total
numbers.
budget, estimated revenues.
Okay, all right, I'm fine.
Okay.
I'll second then.
Thank you.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. Article Z, Sewer Inflow and Infiltration Stabilization Fund.
Mr. Chair, I move to include Article Z in the annual town warrant and recommend approval.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. And here we go, which is why I hate the letters and prefer the numbers, but Article...
we'll get there.
I know. Article AA, Sewer Reserve Capacity Stabilization Fund.
All right, this is for $5,133. Mr. Chair, I move to include Article AA into the annual town warrant and to recommend approval.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. Article BB, Solid Waste Disposal Program Enterprise Fund.
I think in the budget that this is something for discussion, so I'd like to move to include Article BB in the annual town warrant and to withhold a recommendation at this time.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. Article CC, Water Enterprise Fund.
Well, we are the water department. So I move to include Article CC into the annual town warrant and to recommend approval.
Do we know what the budget is? for-
Yeah, it's usually like
The number?
$27,000, but is it going to be too different than that?
Probably not.
I'll have to get back to you on that one.
So just for consistency, I don't like to vote for things that don't have numbers.
I will
That's fine.
withdraw the motion and make a new one. Mr. Chair, I move to include Article CC in the annual town warrant and withhold a recommendation at this time.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Article DD, Public Educational Government Access Enterprise Fund.
Mr. Chair, I move to include Article DD in the annual town warrant and withhold a recommendation at this time.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion passes unanimously. Article EE, Floodplain Map Update.
So floodplain map update, we have this presentation already. Is the board comfortable with the recommendation this evening?
I am.
I am.
Yeah.
I move to include Article EE in the annual town warrant and to recommend approval.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. All right, Article FF, Accessory Dwelling Unit Bylaw Update.
We also have this presentation. Mr. Chair, I move to include Article FF in the annual town warrant and to recommend approval.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. Article GG, amending clauses 17D, 17E, and 17F relative to tax exemptions.
Are we comfortable with the recommendation this evening?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I move to include Article GG in the annual town warrant and to recommend approval.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. Article HH, amending clause 41C and 41D relative to tax exemptions.
Similar to the previous, Mr. Chair, I move to include Article HH in the annual town warrant and to recommend approval.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. All right, Article II, we're on
Oh, I have.
Yep, citizens petition.
citizens petition.
Well, that's already included by definition,
It is.
Yep.
So we're looking for a recommendation.
and I would withhold recommendation. We just got the presentation, so I'd like to think about it.
I agree. So no motion on this one.
And that brings us to
JJ.
Article JJ, citizens petition, and this is the school override in the amount of $2,099,337.
All right, so it's already included, but I would like to delay this recommendation until we have the discussion on the other article to next week, so no
Agreed.
motion.
Agreed.
I do have a comment I'd like to make on this one if I can. I think that, we've sort of been put into a position where we're kind of rushing this override, where the school committee recommended not proposing an override this year. The town manager proposed not recommending an override this year, and now we are in a spot where we are including an article for an override. I would not be in support personally of a school-only override. I thank the town manager for the efforts that you're putting in, even though we have identified that this probably isn't the best-case scenario this year, to put forth a number, and I will be supporting a townwide number, but I cannot support a school-only override, because that's going to create devastating cuts townwide, and I don't believe it is the best financial, responsible decision to make.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if we're going to have an override on the warrant this year, which it looks like we are regardless, we might as well consider town needs as well. So I absolutely agree with you, and I look forward to that conversation tomorrow night. And it looks like that was the last one, right? Mm-hmm. It was.
Glad I could be helpful.
Yeah, thank you. Nope, that was, I think,
Very efficient.
yeah, probably the most efficient we've done it in a long time. All right, so that was the warrant. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah, sure, you can have that.
Oh, you have all the notes.
You can look at this one too, because I recorded most of them
Okay,
before I switched.
Yeah.
If you want, if it's
Okay,
helpful.
okay, thank you.
All right, so budget's tomorrow night. I don't think there's really anything to talk about that tonight.
Not really, just
Yeah.
that, you know, things, every time you think you get to a position where, okay, this is what we're gonna do, let's move forward, things are changing. So like, as I'm sitting here, we got an email from the assessors that they voted the overlay amount at 175,000 and not the 250,000 that I was told. So things change. Things change.
All right.
The analogy I've always heard is that it's like nailing Jell-O to a tree.
That's a good one.
All right, all right. Well, thank you very much.
That's a good one.
It is a good one. I've heard it before, but not in that context, so. All right, moving on. Current business. So review list of upcoming vacancies for appointed boards, committees, and commissions for FY 2026. So we're doing this because of our appointment policy, and just to go over it as well, for the board, for the public, and also the town manager. Per the appointment policy, the town manager provides a list to the select board of all the vacancies that there will be this year after June 30th, which is what we have before us. The town manager will then employ a multimedia strategy to advertise all the vacancies by April 1st. Volunteer applications are due May 15th, that's more so for the public. And then the select board conducts annual appointments the first 2 weeks of June. So I will read through the full list of vacancies that are up this year. If you're interested in applying or reapplying and being reappointed to any of these positions, again, keep in mind volunteer applications are due by May 15th. And feel free to reach out to any of us or the office with any questions. All right, where's the list of vacancies? I have it.
Oh, okay.
Oh. All right, Agricultural Commission. There are 3 vacancies. 1 is for an associate member. Architectural Preservation District Commission. There are 3 vacancies. Americans with Disabilities Commission, and this one is appointed by the town manager and ratified by the select board. There is 1 vacancy for a member at large. Conservation Commission, 3 vacancies. Council on Aging, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 vacancies. Cultural Council, 3 vacancies. Finance Committee, 2 vacancies. Green Communities Committee, 3 vacancies, 2 of which are associate members. Historical Commission, 2 vacancies. Personnel Committee, 5 vacancies, we all know that. Public Access Cable Committee, 2 vacancies. 1 of them is termed to expire June 30th, 2026. Stormwater Task Force, 1 vacancy, member at large. And Zoning Board of Appeals, 4 vacancies, 3 of which are associate members.
Mr. Chair, can we be sure that the people whose terms are expiring have notification that their terms are expiring, so
We
they
absolutely
don't?
can do that,
Okay.
yes. All right, any questions or comments on any of that?
I have questions.
Sure. Okay.
So, through you, Mr. Chair, so the folks with expiring terms, they all reapply, I'm assuming, and do they come and be interviewed, or?
Oh, yeah,
no?
so that's part of our policy that I didn't get to. It's also probably the strangest part of this policy. In the policy, it states that any member of the select board can request for someone to come in. So that is an option. Ordinarily, no, they don't come in to be interviewed if they're applying to be reappointed, but if it's requested by a member of the select board, then we will schedule it.
I think we have until the end of May to request it, but,
Yeah.
and it's not a person, it's the whole board. So it would be like someone saying, I'd like to interview everyone that's getting appointed to the ZBA.
Gotcha, okay. Thank you, yeah, important.
But it has been a stand, I don't know what the policy where we landed, but it has been traditional that anybody who's new to the position
Yeah.
would come.
Right, right, of course, yeah. All right, anything else on that tonight?
No, thank you.
No? All right, awesome.
But historically, we don't really call too many people in.
No.
It's just the new people.
Okay.
I think
Right.
the last couple of years, we've called in like maybe, I think conservation one year, if I remember correctly, and
Yeah.
and then I requested APDC last year.
All right, thank you very much. Moving on, review and potential vote on letter to state delegation regarding local aid. I'm not going to introduce this, I think it's been introduced enough by the public comment and the town manager's report. So I dropped it into the drive, it is there. I also have a physical copy as well. And I'm just going to open the physical copy and read off of that.
And you even got the whereases.
I was asked for a formal letter. So yes, you get the whereas when you request a formal letter from the select board. All right. Lunenburg Select Board demands advocacy for additional local aid to municipalities. We, the Lunenburg Select Board, hereby demand advocacy from State Senator John Cronin, State Representative Margaret Scarsdale, and State Representative Michael Kuchmarek, and immediate action from the legislature to increase local aid to municipalities. Whereas the town of Lunenburg is experiencing an ongoing funding crisis from increased costs such as school transportation, health insurance, out-of-district placements, and other costs that far exceed the limits placed upon municipalities under Proposition 2.5. And whereas for a second year in a row, like many municipalities across the Commonwealth, Lunenburg is faced with the possibility of drastic cuts to public education, with a shortfall of $2 million in FY 2026. And whereas overall Chapter 90 funding has remained static at $200 million since 2012, and despite the historic investments made with the Chapter 90 bond bill, the purchasing power of municipalities remains below what it was a decade ago due to inflation and rising construction costs. Now therefore, the Lunenburg Select Board respectfully requests that our state delegation advocate for the following increases in local aid. 1. Increase the minimum per pupil funding level to $150 per pupil from $104 per pupil. 2. Increase the amount of unrestricted general government aid and prioritize any available supplemental one-time funds for municipalities. 3. Further invest in the Chapter 90 program beyond the increases made by the bond bill. And 4. Recognize the Chapter 70 formula is in need of an overhaul and act with urgency to reform and modernize the program. Signed this 18th day of March, 2025.
So I only have two things. So one of them is just a strict format. So out-of-district placements, out-of-district should be hyphenated.
Sure.
That's my usual things that I find.
Okay.
But the one substantive thing is number 4. We should make it stronger. So
Okay.
we should, I would recommend something in the nature of recognize the Chapter 70 formula is significantly inadequate as currently funded and in need of an overhaul. I think we
Okay.
have to be a little more forceful there.
Sure. Yeah, I like that. Say it again. Is significantly.
Is significantly inadequate in its current funding and then is in need.
Yeah, I concur.
Yep, I like that too.
The only other comments was I had a question, does the therefore need to be capitalized like the whereas?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
it does. Okay.
And the now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. And then the other one was, I think that in the second whereas, when it talks about a shortfall of 2 million, I think in context, it's hard to follow. They don't know what that is as a percentage. And I think that
Okay.
noting
That's a good point.
the amount and percentage, I think would be helpful.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
And I would add to Mr. Jeffries, again, just to make sure I put the context, that is the possibility of drastic cuts to public education with a shortfall of $2 million for a level service budget.
Or, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did we want to say anything about the millionaire's tax and the allocation of that money?
I asked Representative Kuchmarek about the millionaire's tax, like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or so when I was speaking with him, and he says that the money is being allocated strictly to education, but that it's going to 351 towns and it's going to colleges, and that when you split the money that many ways, it's not a lot of money
Right.
to go around.
Because based on that news clip I saw last week with the governor, that's not consistent with what I heard.
Oh, I've heard something similar,
Right.
that the
Yeah.
money's not being.
It's not,
Well, for
it's going,
educational purposes, it's going to colleges,
Going to
right? It's not going to
transportation.
Local.
It's going to, I
Public
mentioned to Mike, I'm like, I've
that
heard this is not
clip
going
of
to-
that interview, of that press conference,
Well, it's clear that transportation is a higher priority for the governor of the state in general than education funding is. Like, that's pretty
It's-
clear. And
Well,
housing.
I think
I haven't
that
had
was one of
time
the
to
two
dig
reasons,
into
though,
it,
wasn't
but-
it Transportation and education, wasn't that what they sold?
that's what it's
Well, yeah.
for. And I was told it's generally, the prior 2 years, it's been pretty even, 60/40, 50/50 split. It doesn't sound like this year is going to be an even split. It sounds like it's going to be far from it. I'd like to confirm that, but I just,
But even what does go towards education from that money, it's still not prioritized for local aid, right? It's going to community colleges, so. Which is great, we all need that, but, we also need local aid. It's good that we, invest in our community colleges.
I mean, I have told several people this, the additional Chapter 90 money that we're getting this year or supposed to get.
Yep,
If the state gave me a check, here's an extra $200,000, spend it how you want, Chapter 90 wouldn't crack my top 10. For Lunenburg, sitting here today. It's out of whack.
out of whack. All right, so I captured all the feedback here. Thank you very much. I will revise this, and then you're gonna have to get your signatures.
Well,
So-
we're meeting
Meeting
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right.
We'll meet tomorrow.
How convenient.
It's almost like it was planned.
Yeah, I know, right? All right, perfect. Here we go. All right, so I'll make those recommendations. It's not on the agenda, but that's fine. I can get it signed.
If you can vote it subject to those changes and just sign it tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a motion?
I move to approve the letter to the state delegation as amended.
Second.
Sec-
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. All right, thank you, Jen. Great idea. All right, moving on, minutes, warrants, action items. We need another week or 2 weeks for the minutes, so we're not going to vote on that tonight. Warrants, I don't believe we have any warrants
No.
tonight either.
No?
Yeah, we
We
didn't.
should tomorrow, though, because
Yeah.
I don't think we had any last.
No, you
No,
didn't.
we
So I
didn't.
actually texted during this meeting and I
Yeah.
said, where are the warrants? So they did
Okay.
not come up today, so.
All right, good, because I was wondering about that. Action items, any new action items?
Yes. We've had a couple special events come forward, and looking at our current application, I think that could be improved. It appears to be a scanned version of an old copy of a
Yeah.
PDF from 1975. That's
That's
what
true
it
of
feels
all of
like
our
when I'm looking at it. I know this is not something.
Actually, I can attest that it's not from 1975. It's like from like 2015 or something like that, or 2017.
I am over.
But we used the 1975 font.
Well, this is actually, oh, go ahead, but
I was just gonna say, I know this is not priority right now, but if we could put that on the list, same thing with the boot drive application, any of our applications, even if we just have the original Word document that we could, re-upload to the website, I would like to see us standardize these processes. But as this is like the second or third week in a row we've seen this, I cringe when I look at it. So
And what
that would be
I would go even a step further, if I can piggyback. I mean, I think we should put it, and again, low priority, but it's got to be there, that all of the forms, instead of having people get them, download them, print them, fill them out, scan them, send them back up, we should make a fillable PDF, Like, I wish somebody would invent that. A fillable PDF online.
I also, there was one other thing.
We've asked for that for years.
Yeah.
Amanda, go ahead.
I noticed on the boot drive application, and it's probably on the special event application too, that it looks like the application is self-certifying, the applicant is self-certifying that they get police and DPW approval. I would like to see a signature or something on
Yeah.
those, especially for events where we have public safety that is needed, instead of the applicant just saying, oh yeah, I ran it by the police, I ran it by the DPW.
Usually we get an email.
Yeah, exactly.
I know,
That-
but
It used to be,
we should
you
do.
should
be
require,
in the application, it should be a sign off, in my opinion, it should be a sign off, or there should be something.
Digital
not-
sign off.
Yep.
Digital, I am, you know I am very pro, let's streamline these processes, but I had that note as well.
and I would.
I just
agree.
want to ask, I'm pretty sure that there was an effort underway to move all of our licenses to OpenGov.
Yes.
Is that,
True.
how's that going?
So, that is actually on the calendar for a discussion in June
Okay.
with the executive assistant, and the building commissioner's been the one that's managing kind of the flow on OpenGov and helping different folks stand it up. So get through town meeting and then, but get them on there prior to the licensing season is the goal.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I do recall, that's why you maybe heard me mumble a little
I
bit.
did, yeah.
'Cause I think that what I understood was that was gonna happen in June, or in the summer.
Right, yeah.
They said, are you really meaning to schedule a meeting in June, or was this, I said, yes, otherwise if I don't put it on the calendar, yes, I am.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Are there any other, do you have more?
Just another action item
Okay.
that I already mentioned earlier, but I just wanted to bring it up here. If we could download the individual Microsoft
Yeah.
apps, that would be really helpful on these iPads.
Concur.
Yeah, I agree.
How are the iPads? Are they
They're-
older, or they're okay?
They're okay.
Oh, yeah, they're
okay,
functionally, they're
functional.
Yeah.
And they're old, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone checks, if the software updates are done, because that might also help,
Yeah, I was gonna
if IT maintains them, or, whoever,
Probably not.
if we could check that too when we're doing that process, that might be
Right, look,
helpful.
now,
I'm on my own, so.
it says update needed.
Yeah, they probably all
No,
need
it
to be
really
updated.
doesn't. It really doesn't.
All right, any other action items? Any committee reports?
I can't see.
Yes, school committee met last week, and they voted on cuts to get down to the town manager budget.
It's too old. The new-
The line item budget, as well as the list of the cut positions, is available on the school website under the school committee minutes and agendas last week's meeting. One thing that they also voted on, fee for school bus transportation. They're meeting tomorrow night, and Stormwater Task Force is meeting this Thursday. That's all.
FinCom met last Thursday, but I have not played the recording yet. Capital Planning is now meeting on Thursday, and before that is FinCom, so two to catch up on.
Economic Development Committee has not met, and the town manager gave my master plan steering committee.
I attended the Finance Committee meeting last week on behalf of the Municipal Building Design Committee. Municipal Building Design Committee was scheduled to meet last night. I should say it was my error not fully appreciating St. Patrick's Day.
No.
And that so many people celebrate it.
That was a hell of a meeting, I bet.
So the meeting was canceled due to a lack of quorum, which the members.
Or lack of decorum.
I knew, that's such a joke.
Which the members did communicate well in advance of the meeting. And it was, I actually had a work conversation. I acknowledge, I did not fully understand, other than the drinking part of St. Patrick's Day, that it's actually a holiday that people really do celebrate. And forgive me, I didn't know. So it was my error, and we couldn't make quorum last night. Library is meeting this Thursday, and I will be in attendance this Thursday.
All right, I don't have any committee reports. Upcoming meetings, we are meeting tomorrow, March 19th, and then April 1st and April 8th. Public comment, are there any public comments from the town manager?
No.
Any public comment from the public? Yeah, coming up.
Jean Marie Price, 162 Highland Street. I just wanted to make a comment. There is a rain date for the cruise night. It's going to be May 28th, because I got the minutes from I am a member of the Lions Club, so
Okay.
I'll let you
Thank
know
you.
that. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, any other public comment from the public?
Do we need to vote to include that, or just?
We already-
Because our voted, it is already
Yeah,
included?
yeah,
Okay, good.
it's
We gave
Want to make sure.
All right, looking at Zoom, we have Mr. Passios.
Yes. Sorry, the picture's no good. It's a little dark in here, but I don't
Yeah,
have
just a
time to
little
turn the
bit.
lights on. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
And I'll spot
Okay.
Dave if I have to.
Yep. Dave Passios, former town resident of Whiting Street, presently Jefferson, New Hampshire, Presidential Highway. I just have a question that was generated by one of your members' comment about the citizen petition override. What, does any of you on the stage there know what the procedure would be for the person who submitted that article to withdraw it? Does it have to include the 50 signatories withdrawing also, or just the person that submitted the article?
That is a great question that I don't have the answer to.
I am not sure that, well, we would have to get town council. My feeling is that once it's submitted with signatures, I'm not sure you can withdraw it, you can only pass over it, I believe.
Yeah.
I concur in that understanding as well.
The Passover, yeah.
And I think we did actually have a conversation with Carter and Town Council when we were having our pre-town meeting last year, because this came up as well. And I'm pretty sure that we also decided that we couldn't remove it and that it had to be passed over. But it could be helpful to get another opinion.
Yeah, I agree. It might be worth knowing whether that option is available, because it doesn't make sense to me that a committee votes not to recommend an override, accepts a budget that gets them through next year without the override, and then supports an override. So I'll leave it at that.
If I may, Mr.
Yeah.
Chair. So, the other part of an override, Dave, as you know, is that the board has to also accept it on the ballot, which is a totally separate question that only this board can make a decision on. So even though there may be a citizen petition that calls for an override, without the board approving the other half of that, there's no actual mechanism for a citizen to get an override passed without at least some partial consent from the select board and having a vote for that.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me, because I had that thrown in my face about 7 years ago. Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome, Mr. Passios. All right, I'm not seeing anyone else on Zoom. All right, any public comments from the board?
None?
None.
All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any additional discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. It is 9:49 PM and the select board is adjourned, and we will see you back here tomorrow night.